Hello everyone, how's it going? Are you guys ready for more Chaos Head NoAH? On the second to last chapter of our first true ending. The ending we have to get before we're able to get any of the other endings. Very exciting, I know. Man, I don't even really know what to expect to happen in this chapter. I just expect more confusion for anyone that misses it. But like, that's been true for every chapter ever, so... I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts? Feel free to share them. But I guess, otherwise, without further ado, the sky outside the train car was turning dark. The Yamanote line car was packed with salarymen heading home from work and students heading home from school. Yuaku Sanoki and Yasuji Bon were standing next to each other, hanging onto the straps as the train rumbled and shook. They made a strange pair, and Yua had been glancing around for a while now to see if they attracted anyone's attention. She kept fiddling nervously with her hair and glasses. She just met Bon a few days ago, and wasn't up to making friendly conversation with him. There was only one stop between Harajuku and Shibuya, but the 3 minutes it took to go between them felt far, far longer than it usually did. Bon was silently looking out the window. He made no attempt to speak to her. In Yua's mind, Bon wasn't a bad person, but he was a little scary. She met several police officers after what had happened with her sister, and didn't have a high opinion of any of them. Fair. Maybe that's what made her feel awkward around Bon. That was how she saw it anyway. Look, you get to the secret dungeon by beating the bandit on floor 15. I don't know where the bandit is, though. Two men standing near the doors had been talking in loud voices ever since she'd got on at Harajuku. Man, that's annoying here, but, like, I imagine it's extra annoying in Japan where it's just, like, the blatant, like, manners for public transit is keep your trap shut, usually. They were making no effort to avoid disturbing the other passengers, and Yua was forced to listen to their conversation. The left side of the map? How can you miss the bandit? He's right there. I can't tell the difference between a bandit and a policeman, though. Look, he's obviously a bandit. How could you mistake this guy for a policeman? Bandits can't have guns. They were wearing unfashionable clothes, with bandanas on their heads. They wore fingerless gloves and had tightly packed backpacks on their backs. They were the type commonly called otaku. As an anime and manga fan herself, Yua wasn't really bothered by their appearance. But she'd never been to Akihabara before, and she'd never seen someone dressed like such a stereotypical otaku before. She took a few glances at this rare sight before realizing how rude she was being. She quickly looked away. In the seat in front of her was a teenage girl with brown hair and a blue blazer. She was typing into her phone, her fingers done up with gaudy fake nails. Every time she moved her fingers, the strap on the phone dangled, and had a tiny plastic gun at the end of it. Yua saw what the girl was writing. The girl was holding it at a bizarrely flat angle. It was almost as if she was trying to make sure Yua saw it. Went to a party last night with this cop and it sucked. Lamest old dude I ever met. Hope he dies. Yua was the girl's age, but she couldn't understand it at all. It was probably just how some girls talked when they were on the phone. But to her, it looked like some kind of code. Bang! Bang! Suddenly, a child's voice echoed loudly through the car. Yua turned toward the voice in surprise. It was a 5-year-old kid standing next to Bon. He was holding a toy water pistol and pointing it at Bon. He was pulling the trigger, but water wasn't coming out. Bang! Bang! Bon gave the child a grin. His eyes weren't laughing at all, but the child didn't seem scared in the slightest. Nobu-kun, yamenasai! Nobu, cut it out. Someone who appeared to be the child's mother came over. She bowed shallowly in Bon's direction. I'm sorry. Bang! 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 Nobu, cut it out. The mother's voice was stern, but all she was doing was warning him. She didn't try to take the gun or make him put it down.
Bam! Bam!
Bang, bang, bang! I'm really
本当にすいません。
sorry.
ああ、構いま
No,
せん。
it's fine.
Bam!
Bang, bang, bang!
おじさんが困ってるでしょ
You
う、
could
ノブ
see
君。
he's upset, right, Nobu? Something seemed really strange about the whole scene to Yua. The mother was making an angry face at her child, looking apologetically at Bon, but that was all. Nobu said ACAB, so true.
Bam!
Bang, bang, bang!
やめなさい。
Stop
怒るわ
it, or I'll get mad.
Bam!
Bang, bang, bang! The child seemed completely oblivious to her pleas. He kept repeating the same phrase over and over again, like a broken toy. His mother still wasn't making any real effort to stop him.
本当に
Really?
本当にすいません。
I'm really sorry.
Bam!
Bang, bang,
Bam!
bang! Bon, for some reason, made no effort to stop the child.
Bam!
Bang, bang, bang! This continued all the way to Shibuya. Jesus Christ. The train stopped at Shibuya station, and the doors opened. The kid and his mom made no effort to get off. Relieved, Yuva stepped off the train with Bon. She looked at him and saw he was chuckling. We have an emergency message. The Bangomon subway line. I'm sorry. The Hanzomon subway line is delayed due to a fatal accident on the tracks. Gasp. We apologize for the inconvenience. Lately, I've been getting this weird feeling. Rows of people were walking past them on the platform. As they joined the crowd heading for the Hachiko exit, Bon suddenly whispered to Yuma. I'm just feeling like a bunch of people are stalking me.
どういうことですか?
What do you mean?
さっきみたいな
I mean, stuff like that happens a lot.
周囲の人間の
The people around me aren't doing anything special, but it feels like they're part of some grand scheme to get me. I got distracted by a notification. What does it say? Okay. Understood. Anyways. No, but is my little guy moving? Okay, probably. Let's try this again, though. The people around me aren't doing anything special, but it feels like they're part of some grand scheme to get me. I think you're looking for the term paranoid. Like, you are paranoid. But who knows? Let's say Bon hadn't said anything about the child's mischief. Little things like that were happening all the time lately. If he let each one bother him, he'd go crazy fast. I'm probably just overthinking it. Not many people would be interested in a boring guy like me. But you know, gang stalking a real thing. Oh, gang stalking, maybe?
普通のストーカー行為とは
No, it's different than
何が違うん
regular
ですか?
stalking.
被害を受けてる側か
The
らする
victim
と
doesn't know what the
相手の
stalkers
意
are
図や
after,
目的
or even who they
正
are.
体すら全くわかんねえんだただ誰
You
か
just feel like every day,
行く先
no
々
matter where they go,
毎日
people
の
are
よう
out
に
there trying to
様々な
harass
嫌が
them.
らせを受けていると感じ集団ストーカーってのは
That's how gang
そういう
stalking
もん
works.
ただの考えすぎっ
Is
て
it
いう
possible
可
they're
能
just
性は
overthinking it? You know, being paranoid?
十分にあ
It
る
sure is. It's hard to tell the
Kyohak
difference between the
Kamen
real
to
thing and paranoia.
俺の場合は
In my
そう
case,
で
though,
もなさそうだ
I don't think that it's it. For the past few days,
ここ数
I've
日
been
は
getting
相
more
手の
direct
かなり
attention.
直接的な手段に出てきていやがる
と言いますと
What do you mean?
手を引けって
Anonymous
脅迫
threatening
する
calls
匿名
telling
の
me
電
to
話
back
が
off.
何度かかか
Quite
っ
a
て
few of them. For some reason, Bon had a smile on his face as he spoke. Yuva felt more scared than he seemed to be. She crossed her arms over her chest.
あの だ
Are you
大丈夫
okay?
なんですか?
まあ
Eh,
でかにゃ
it happens all the time to cops. He spoke casually, but as he regarded her, the look on his face became more serious.
ゆあちゃんは最近そんなよ
Has
うなこと
anything
ない
like that happened to you, Yua?
はい
No,
ない
I don't think
と思い
so.
ます。
身の回りで
If you say anything that feels even the slightest bit out of
すぐに
place,
おじさん
you
に
tell
言
me
ってくれ
right away.
ゆあちゃんの身の安全を守る
It's the
のは
police's
警
job
察
to
の仕
keep
事
you
だからね
safe. Not gonna get into that right now.
はい
Okay. You realize that she may have gotten into something more dangerous than she'd thought. What? More dangerous than thinking that Sid Nishijo is a freaking serial killer? Like, come on.
あなたは
You are
妄想の
a
存在なんだよ
delusion. That's what Rimi said, but I didn't have a clue what she meant. I ignored her and began to look at the houses around me. I remember this place. I'd never seen this place before. The house that should be here wasn't. A house that shouldn't be here was. The gap between my memories and reality became more and more stark in the light of the evening sun.
ずれてなんかない
Nothing's wrong at all. I said this aloud, desperately trying to deny the despair in my heart. That's right, nothing was wrong at all. I just gone down the wrong street. I was being silly. Just a silly little guy. Nothing was wrong with the world at all. How could there be? I ran back the way I came and headed down the street. The next street over I can read. But again, there was a gap between my memories and what I saw. I realized my whole body was soaked with an awful sweat. I felt like I was suffering from vertigo, like my legs weren't touching the ground. I felt like I was going to throw up.
なんで
What's
だよ
going on?
ここに
My
僕の家があるのは
has to be
間違い
here.
ないんだ僕はいつも
I
ここ
walked
から
to
小学
elementary
校
and
にも
middle school every day
中
from
学校に
here.
も通ってたんだ小学校に
In
は
elementary
ナナ
school,
ミと手を
I'd
つな
hold
いで
hands with
登
Nanami.
校して
We
た
would
し
go together.
中学は自
In
転
middle
車で
school, I'd take a bike.
どこの
Which middle school? Rumi had caught up to me. Her voice was quiet.
どこって
What do you mean?
なんていう学
Do you
校
remember the name of the school?
そんなの
Of course I
決まってる
do.
じゃないか
It's not even that
仕事
far.
の
It's... What was its name again?
あれ
Huh? Huh? I couldn't remember. I'd gone to middle school. I remembered that much, but the details weren't clear. It was like there was a fog in my head that was keeping me from seeing them. The name of the school, which class I was in, my teachers' names. I couldn't remember any specific names at all.
そんなはずない
That's
んだ
impossible.
ただ
I
忘
just
れてるだけで
can't remember.
タク
Taku,
聞いて
you need to listen to me.
あなたの記憶にあ
What's in
る
your memories
この場所に家がある
isn't the home
じゃな
that
くて
was here.
この場所に家がある
It's
は
the
ず
idea
って
that
いう
this is where your
思
home
い込み
was,
そうで
right?
しょ
I felt like I was going to go crazy. Oh, buddy, you're already crazy.
だっ
But
て
but
僕は
but I
僕はここに来るまでの道
I remembered the way
覚え
here.
てるんだぞおかしいじゃ
It
ないか
doesn't make sense
それは
because those memories
作られた
weren't
記憶だ
created
から。
for you. Don't make that face. Rumi's eyes were downcast. She looked sad as she lied to me. There was more stuff I didn't understand. Stuff I couldn't understand. I gave up on thinking. Me too, for real, for real.
タクは
You
中
never
学
went to
に
middle
は通
school.
ってないの
わかった。
I get it.
これド
It's
ド
all
ッキリでしょ
prank, right?
そうなんでしょ
Right?
きっとあれだ
I know.
そうリミと
You and not
ナ
him
ナ
are
ミが
friends
実は
or
知り合いとかで
something. And
僕
you're
を
trying
借り
to
て
trick
騙そうと
me.
してるんだ。そうか。
Oh man, he almost had me too. I was trying to laugh it off, but Remy didn't even grin.
ごめん
I'm sorry.
私
Now I have to tell you things that
これ
aren't
からあな
going
た
to
を傷
hurt
つける
you.
ことを言わなくちゃタク
Taku,
あなたは
you.
ね本来
He shouldn't
いちゃい
exist.
けない存在なんだよ。
Don't lie to me! Remy was lying to me. She was my enemy too. You were the one behind Crucified, weren't you? No, I'd seen her then. It had been a delusion at all. The nature killer wasn't the man I'd seen on TV. It was Remy. She'd been watching me the whole time to make sure I didn't tell anybody the truth. That's why she stayed with me. You were there, covered in blood, so you're the killer.
あれは
And that was the delusion you desired.
ギガロマニアックス
When
の
a
妄想はね
Giglomaniac's delusion becomes too
強すぎる場
powerful,
合
well, sometimes lumped in with other delusions around it.
妄想が
The delusions
シンクロするんだ
synchronize. She spoke, quietly, as if to make sure I'd heard. Her calm demeanor just made me even more upset. Oh boy, time for a bad delusion. I'm so glad that we're doing this nothing but bad delusions route for no reason,
4つの妄
because
想
it
が
doesn't
シンク
matter,
ロしてた
but there were at least 4 delusions synchronized there that night. Damn, that's a lot.
タクと
Yours,
私と
mine,
ニュージェネの犯
the
人
new
と
gen killer's hand.
信じるもんか
I refuse to believe this. I cut her off. I put my hands tight over my ears. I closed my eyes.
これは妄想だ
This is a delusion.
そうだよ
That's
妄
right.
想なんだ
It's a delusion.
いつもしてい
Like the
るみ
ones
たい
I
だ
always have.
これ以上妄
No
想
more
しちゃダメ
delusions. Oh, okay. Cool. Oh boy, doesn't have her do Lulu, never mind. Welcome in, Spooky. As I tried to escape into a delusion, Remy's voice pulled me back to reality.
出ないと私
Or, I'll have to erase
消さ
you.
なくちゃいけなくなる
I mean, I don't think that would be so bad, not gonna lie.
殺す
You're
の
going to kill me? Terror ran down my spine. In my mind, Remy was changing from my savior into some strange creature I didn't understand. Sorry, just the use of the word creature. Creatura. Anyways.
殺すんだな
You're going to kill me, aren't you? I knew you were a murderer. Why do you keep looking like that? Biting your lip, looking down like you're about to cry. It makes it hard to get mad at you. She's also pink. Tell me it was all a lie. Smile and ask me if you fooled me. And then we could go back to how things were before. I want to go back.
だったら僕は
But then, what am I?
ギガロマニアックスの
A
妄想
human
によって
created by a giglomaniac's
作られた人
delusion.
間
Maybe.
かな
Interesting.
バカらしい
That's stupid.
僕には
I
ち
have
ゃん
all
と
my
記
memories.
憶があるんだ
But, okay, so, make sure the device you want to use unlocked and paired with this PC. It is. You may need to install iTunes and start it once the required USB communication services are ready. It is literally an iOS device plugged... It is not plugged in. There we go. I'm so dumb. I hope you guys didn't expect anything more from me. Fuck.
中学の頃の
Maybe I
細かい
can't
記憶が
remember
思い出
some
せないけ
details
ど
from middle school,
忘れちゃ
but
っ
I
ただ
just
けで
forgot. That's all.
あなたが生まれたのは
You were born a year
1
and a
年
half
半前
ago.
なの
Well then. A year and a half ago? That'd be right when I started high school.
だったら僕は
That would mean
一歳
I'm
半
a
赤ん坊っていう
baby.
ことじゃないか
Just a year and a half old.
バブ言ってなくちゃ
You shouldn't be able to say anything more than baby talk. Talking to me confirmed baby. Noted.
タクは生まれた
You
瞬
were from
間
the
から
moment you
タク
were
だった
born. And you were you from the moment you were born, rather. Words.
君が
Are you telling me you saw it with your own eyes?
確かに僕らは1年半
Supposedly
前
we
から
were
友達だったら
friends a
しい
year
ね
and a half ago.
僕は覚え
But
てない
that
けど
I remember it.
私とあなたが会ったのは
You and I met a
1ヶ
month
月前
ago. Well then.
あの
At the scene of the
貼り付けの現場。
crucified murder.
私はもともと
I'm not
水泳の
actually a
生徒じゃ
Suime
ないから。
student. Rumi was crazy. Rumi was crazy just like the rest of them. She was super crazy. Even crazier than Sana and Ayase.
誰が僕を
And then
妄想
whose
したの？
delusion
言
am
って
I?
みてよ。
Tell me.
西条匠くんだよ。
Takumi Nishijo.
入ったタウ
Haha,
ト
yeah, right. I'm a delusion, right? You're telling me I invented a delusion of myself? You just contradicted yourself. Yeah, that's bullshit.
それとも
Or
君の
is
妄
this all a
想
delusion of yours?
君が勝手に作り出し
Some
た
crazy
君だ
shit
け
you
の
thought
脳内
up
設定なん
inside
でしょ
your head?
僕
Leave
それに
me
巻き込
out
ま
of
ないで
it.
よ。
私だって
I didn't want you to
タクに
know.
は知ってほしくなかった。ここにも
I
来て
didn't
ほし
want
く
you
な
to
かった。
come here.
もっと
I should have
強く引
tried
き止め
harder
れ
to
ばよかっ
stop
た
you,
ね。
huh? She looked up. Her face was firm. Her eyes were gazing straight at me. They had a deadly serious look about them, and they were filled with light. She didn't look like she was lying at all.
でも
But now,
ここ
I
まで
think
来
it's
たら
better that you know the truth.
本当のことを知ってもらった方がいいと思う。
But this is a lie. This is all a lie. It had to be a lie. If it wasn't, I'd go crazy. Crazy? I was crazy. Who could believe a person who suddenly told them they were a delusion?
あなたの行動が
You should know that the
他の
things
人の
you do are
命を
slowly
削っていくん
consuming
だって
another person's life.
知ってもらった方が。
What, Shogun?
そうだ
Right.
な
What
な
about Nanami?
僕が妄想だ
If
った
I
ら
have delusion,
僕と
my
血の
sister and my
繋がってる
parents
両
have
親も
delusion
妄想って
too?
ことそんなの無茶苦
That's
茶
just crazy.
ナナちゃんは
Nanami is
Idiot.
real. The way she was talking, it was almost like she knew Nanami.
ナナミを誘拐し
Were
たの
you
は
the one who kidnapped Nanami?
君なの。
似たようなものかも。
In a way, yeah. Crazy? I was crazy once. They put me in a cage. An oversized bird cage. The cage made me crazy. Crazy? That was last night. Get your game straight.
私はタクを
It
守
was
る
so
ことに
focused on
気を取られす
protecting
ぎ
you.
て
And then I
ナ
never
ナちゃんが
thought they
狙われ
might
る可
go
能性
after
を
her
考えて
instead.
なかった。私は
I know who
誘拐犯の
kidnapped
こ
her.
と知ってる。
I knew it. She was the demon girl, just like I thought at first. I wanted Mimi, at least to be on my side. And I wish I'd let me keep believing for so long. There have been any number of things that should have made me suspicious. I kept closing my eyes to all of them so that I could believe her when she said she'd stay with me. But in the end, she was just like Yua.
君も
You're betraying me
僕を
too,
裏切るんだね
aren't。you?
そうだね。
That's right. Yeah,
私は
I betrayed you.
タクを裏切った。
I hid a whole lot of things
隠
from
し
you.
事たくさんしてた。ごめんね。
I'm sorry.
私のこと
You can hate me if you want.
恨んでいいよ。
謝られたって
It doesn't matter if you apologize.
僕は
I
信じら
don't
れない
believe you.
信じられ
Can't
ない
believe you. But despite what I was saying, I couldn't prove that I was real. All the strange supernatural things I'd seen so far came flashing back to me. Could I really be sure that what Rumi was saying was crazy? Rumi slowly walked up to me and held me tight. Caught off guard, I didn't resist. Her warmth. It had saved me when I was in trouble. It had kept my mind from breaking. It had taught me kindness. But now, even as she held me in her arms, warmth felt very far away.
そろそろ行かな
I
きゃ。
have to go.
行くって
Go
どこ
where?
へ
ナナちゃんをさらった。
To see the person who kidnapped Nana. I need to put an end to this.
つけなく
To
ちゃ
what's
いけない
going on
の。
with Nana. And
ナ
other
ナちゃん
stuff
の
too.
ことも他のことも。このままだと
As things stand,
タクも
I
守り
can't
きれない
keep you
し。
safe either.
そんなの
That's
無責
just
任だ
irresponsible.
僕にここまで
You're saying all these horrible things to me, and then running away. Rumi moved away from me. A step. Now then another step. Little by little, she put more and more distance between us.
戻ってくるから
Now come back.
タクは
You stay in
部
your
屋にい
room.
てそしたらまた
And then we could talk
一緒に
about
色
all
々
sorts
楽し
of
いお
fun
話しよう
things.
あなたは
You're allowed to be there, you know?
いてもいいんだよ
Her voice was kind. After all the horrible things she'd said, how could she be kind again?
でも
But
一つだ
promise
け
me one thing.
約束もう
No
妄
more
想はしない
delusions. Okay.
タクの妄想力は
Your
とっても
delusions
強
are
いから
very strong.
妄想すればす
And the
る
more
ほど
delusions you create,
本物のあ
the
なた
more
の
it
命
consumes the
は
life of your
削ら
real
れていっちゃ
self.
うんだ
So Shogun.
何よ。
What?
それじゃあ
Okay.
また明
I'll see you tomorrow.
日石
Snap. She gave me a salute and a smile that seemed very, very out of place. But then right after that, silent tears began to fall from her eyes. She quickly turned her back to me and ran, shoulders shaking. I watched her go, stunned, and then collapsed to my knees.
本物の僕っ
What do
て
you
なん
mean,
だよ。
the real me?
僕は
I'm not.
偽物じゃない。
All the colors seemed to have gone out of the world. And there was no hope to be found. I'd been denied my very existence. My life had no meaning. Not even my death had any meaning. Mimi had gone and left my useless self behind. She was my enemy too. She'd been lying to me. And now that she told me everything, there was no reason for her to stay with me anymore.
戻ってくるはず
She's
ない
not。coming back. Mimi had abandoned me because I'm just a delusion, supposedly. I'm just a monster. It didn't even matter. Nothing mattered. I didn't even have the strength to stand up. I still couldn't get any of what she'd said straight in my head. I was so shocked. I couldn't even cry. And the cold twilight wind was stealing the heat from my body. Even the little bit of warmth that Mimi had left was gone. I looked up at the sky for no reason at all. The twilight had almost entirely turned to night.
これが新作
This is the new one.
また
It's as
へんてこ
bizarre as the
ね
rest. Almost I stared at the girl with Rocky keychain that Bon had bought and smiled. Hydrate? Okay, bet. Thank you, Bear.
でも可愛いじゃない
It's cute though.
そりゃ新作じゃねえ
That's not the new one.
先週
It's
出
the
た
one from last week.
なんだっけ
What was it called again? I'll give you a look that was begging for help.
涙目
Teary-eyed
ゲロカイル
ghetto
ンで
froggy.
す。
ああそうそう
Yeah, that's it.
ごめんね、ゆあち
It's
ゃ
not
ん
her, you.
こんな
It
む
must
さ
have
苦
been
しいお
rough
じさんに
hanging
付
out
き合
with
わ
a
されて
grumpy old
大
guy
変だっ
like
たでし
him.
ょ
No, no.
ひでえな桃ちゃん
That's a mean thing to say,
こんな
Momo.
ダンディー
Not
な
many
チャンネ
men
ルは
my age are as
なかなかいい
handsome and
ぜ
suave as me. Uh-huh, sure. Momose was, however, not interested in Bon's comments in the slightest. She ignored him and brought Yua a cup of tea herself. Bon sighed and sat in a chair as he looked around the office. Priscia's employees usually worked late, but today they'd all gone home right as the workday ended. The schedule on the whiteboard showed that none of them were working overtime today. I can speak. With the office empty, it was as quiet as midnight.
で
So,
桃ちゃん
Momo,
進
you
行
look
の
into
こと
Thinko
を
for
調べて
us?
くれたかい
Before he got in on the train at Harajuku, Bon had called Momose and asked her to investigate the company.
その前に
First, Momose gave Yua a happy smile.
ゆあちゃん
Yua,
お茶を飲んだ
when
ら
you
帰った
finish
方
your
がいい
tea,
わ
you should go home.
日も暮れたし
It's late.
ご
Your
両親
parents
が
must
心
be
配するで
worried,
しょ
right? Yua could tell what Momose was thinking. What they were about to discuss wasn't safe for an ordinary girl like Yua to hear.
私のこと
Are you
心配
worried
して
about
くれてい
me
るん
and
ですか
safety?
え、そう
Yes,
よ。
that's right. Mimose's face took on a grave look, and she nodded. Yua was grateful but shook her head.
私
I'm not
帰りません
leaving. I'll do anything if it gets me
みえちゃんの
closer
真相に
to the
近づく
truth
ためなら
about what's happened to
何だ
Mia.
ってするつもりです
あなたはこ
You
れ以
shouldn't
上
get
関わ
involved
るべきじゃ
any
な
more
い
than you
わ。
already have.
私もとっくに
I'm a part of
当事
this.
者の一
It
人です
happened for a long time. And there was a strength in her words that made it clear she wasn't going to change her mind. Momose was surprised at this sudden, unexpected refusal.
意外と頑固ね
You're surprisingly stubborn.
ま、ここでのけ
Well,
者
it'd
に
be
するの
cruel
も
to leave her out now after all that's happened.
いざとなったら
I'll have the
警察
police
の
provide protection if she needs it. Momose let out a deep sigh at Bond's unconcerned attitude.
バンちゃんにそんな
Do
権
you
力
even
がある
have
のか
that
しら
kind of
ね
authority?
ま、こう見えても
It
一
may
応
not look
天
it,
下
but
の
it worked for
警視庁
Tokyo
捜査
Patrol
一課所
in
属だからな
Police Section 1, the most famous department of the country.
あらそう
No, I see. Momose ignored him and turned to stare at Yuan.
これから聞くことは
What you're about to hear is not to be shared under
絶対に口外しちゃダメよ。
any circumstances. Understood?
これはあ
Your
な
life
た
is
の
at
命にも
stake
関わ
here.
ることだから
You need to be
それを
very
肝に銘
careful.
じてね
Oh,
はい
okay. Yuan nodded, a tense look on her face. Momose looked at her and sighed one more time before settling back into her seat. Her plump body became even rounder as she leaned over her laptop.
で
So,
進行から
what did you find
何が
out
出た
about Thinko?
バンちゃんの予感
Wow.
的中
You were
感じ
right.
ね
Bon and Yua looked at her monitor from over her shoulder.
有限会社新興の親
Thinko,
会社は
LSC, is a wholly owned subsidiary of Nozomi Technologies.
のぞみテクノロ
Nozomi
ジー
Technologies?
のぞみグル
The
ープ
Nozomi Group, huh?
こいつは
That's a
驚きだ
surprise.
新興は5年
Thinko
前
got
にのぞみグ
bought
ルー
out
プに
by
吸収合併されたん
about
だ
5
け
years ago,
それ以降
and ever since then,
発売した商
everything
品
they've turned out
次
has
々
been
と
a
大ヒッ
huge
トしてる
hit.
のよゲロカイルンだけじゃないの
It's not just Garo
中国製
Faki.
バッ
They
グと
sold
か
handbags
タイ
made in
製のエ
China,
コバッグと
shopping
か
bags from
美脚パ
Thailand,
ンツとか
pants that make your legs look longer.
でこの
So,
会社は
what makes these
商
guys
品の売り
special
出し
is the
方が
way they do
独
their
特なの
sales. They always
いつ
go
も
all
週
in
末
on
に
your new
新製
product
品
right
を
on
一
the
斉に投入
weekend.
するのよ
The weekend. Bond's ears pricked up when he heard the word.
G レートとの
Any
関係は
relationship to the GE rate?
必然にしろ偶然にし
Whether it
ろ
was planned or a
新興の商
coincidence,
品がヒットしてるのは
Thinko's products are a
GE
hit because of the
レートの
GE
変動の
rate
影響ね。
change.
そ
Not
れは
much is
確かに
clear.
前に見せた
You remember the
GE
GE
rate
rate graph I
覚えて
showed you
る
before?
5年ぐらい前からずっ
I
と
showed you how the
毎
rate's
週
been
末
going
に
up
値が上
on
がっ
the
てるって
weekends
言っ
for
た
the
わ
past
ね
5 years, right?
新
It
興が
matches
望
right
みグル
within
ープ
the
に合
timing
併
of
され
when
た実
Thinko
績
was
ぴっ
bought out
た
by
り
the
一致するわ
Nozomi Group.
新興が
You
レー
think
トを操
Thinko's
作してる
screwing
と
with the
思うか
rate?
新興自体はそんなに
Thinko's
大
not
きな会
that
社
big
じゃ
a
ないから
company.
それは無
They
理だ
wouldn't have the capability,
となると
which means
親
it'd be
会社
their parent company,
のぞ
Nozomi.
みが怪しいな
It feels like the Nozomi Group would be
グ
able
ル
to
ープ
do
総
it if
出
they
で
put
取り組め
enough
ばレ
resources
ー
into
ト
it.
操作だってできそうじゃねえか
待って
Wait,
望み
Nozomi's
の方は
one
もちろん
thing,
だけど
but the real interesting
新
thing
興が
about
興味
Thinko
深いの
is
はそ
something
こだけじゃ
else.
ないの設立当初
I
の
went
資料に
back
ま
through
で
the
遡ってみ
documents
た
for the company's
すご
founding
い
and
大
saw a
物が出
really
てきた
big
のよ
name.
大物
A big name.
井ノ原構造
Kozo Inohana.
はは
He's a big shot in the Meiwa party, isn't he?
新興設立
He
当
was
時
still
は
a damn
まだ
lib when
民事
Thinko
党
was
財政時
founded,
代だけ
though.
どね
つながってきた
It's all coming together.
太田教授のと
What happened with Professor
こ
Ota,
の前の
the earthquake a little while ago, Mei was putting pressure on the media to censor anything that could connect to
報
the
道規
GE
制の
rate.
圧力をかけてきてる
GE レートのグラフ
And
のことだ
about
けど
that GA rate graph,
いろいろ調べてたら
I looked into some things and found another interesting little
他に
pattern. And there are two things she discovered so far about the GE rate. First, that it rose regularly on the weekends, It wasn't that big of an increase, but it went up every weekend except on the New Year's, during Golden Week, and during Goulbon. Second, there was a huge rise during the earthquakes. The GE rate had shown an incredible rise during the earthquake 2 months ago when 8 people had died, and then the one a week ago when over 100 people had died.
で3つ目
And
の
then
パ
there's
タ
the
ーン
third pattern.
この5年で4回だけ
There
起
have
き
been
ている
4 big crises in the past
時期は
5
どれも
years.
まちまち
They've all taken place at different times.
上昇値は地
And the
震の
rise
時ほど
isn't
じゃない
as
けど
big as it was during the
結構高い
earthquake,
の
but still pretty big.
最初はこれが何
At
を意味
first,
しているのか
I
分から
didn't
なか
know
った
what
ん
I
だけ
was
ど
looking at.
調
But
べ
then
て
I
いくうち
realized
に
there
こ
was
の
another event
5
that
年で
happened
4
4
回と
times in the last
動
5
するイベ
years.
ントに行き着いた
イベント
What event?
もったいぶらずに
Don't keep us in suspense. What is it?
選挙よ
Elections.
衆参合わせて4
The
度行わ
4
れ
big
た選
rises
挙
match
区と
perfectly with the
その
4
4回の
elections held
G
for
レート
the
上昇
upper
の
and
日は
lower houses in the
完
past
全
5
に同じだっ
years.
たわ
Bond frowned and stroked his stubble.
野党だった明和
The
党が
election where the
大躍
Meiwa
進
party
を
went
遂
from
げ
being a
与党
minor
にな
player
った
to the
選
big
挙が
party in power was
4年前
4 years ago, right?
そして
And it was 5 years ago when Kozo
民主党を電
Inohana
撃的
suddenly
に離党
left
し
the
て
damn lips and
明
moved
和
to
党
the
に移っ
Meiwa
たのは
party.
5年前
Suddenly, there was a heavy silence between the three of them.
なんだか
Somehow,
私
listening to you two talk has made me scared.
怖くなってきました
Yua whispered, voice quavering a little.
私もびっくりだわ
I'm surprised too. It's amazing
ここ
to
まで
see
キ
it
ーワ
all
ード
line
が
up
ぴったり
like
当てはまる
this.
なんてね
まだ状況
It's
証
still
拠
nothing
しか
but
ないが
circumstantial evidence, though.
それでも G
The
レ
only
ー
reason
トの
we
こ
were
とを
able
知っ
to
ていた
get
から
this
こ
far
そ
is
気づ
because
け
we
た
knew
のだ
about the GE rate.
知らなかった
If we had known about it, we never would have had a clue. Juan took his fan from his belt and casually began to wave it at his face.
ところで
Can I tell you all
俺
the
の調べた
fascinating
女子
things I
高生の
learned
生態
about
について
teenage
話
girls,
していい
by
か
the
い
way? Almost I sighed and glared at him.
あのね
Listen,
いきな
this
り
isn't
そん
the
なくだら
time
ないこ
for
と言い出すん
this.
じゃないわ
Especially
よ
not with you right there.
ゆあちゃんがいるんだから少しは考えなさい
ね
Come on, don't be like that. Bonk grinned, but his eyes weren't laughing at all.
青いセナについ
I'm
て
talking about one girl in particular, actually. Sana Aoi.
え
Or,
正しく
I
は
suppose I should use her
畑野
real name
という
instead.
べきか
Sana
な
Hatano.
ぜか最
For
近に
some
なって
reason,
母
she started
親の
using
旧
her
姓を
mother's
使い始
maiden
め
name
た
lately. I can't think of any reasons. What about you guys? Hmm.
その畑野
Sana
の
Hatano's
父親
father, Issei
畑野
Hatano,
一世は
supposedly
今
missing
失踪して
and has been
行
for
方
a
不明らしい
while.
んだが
But before he
Nozomi
vanished, he worked for Nozomi
Technology
Technologies.
どういうこと
What do you mean?
どう
I
いうことも
mean,
何も
just what I
そ
said.
のまんまさ
Nozomi Technologies mostly makes medical device software. The Nozomi group got their start with them, and went through a bunch of M&A until they were one of the biggest groups in Japan.
半年前
6 months ago, Sana Hatano's mother and 1-year-old sister both died under mysterious circumstances.
父親の
Her
失
dad
踪
went
は
missing
その
right
直
after
後
that.
畑野瀬名本人
At
も
about the same
それと前
time,
後して
Sana
当
Hatano
時
herself
預けられ
escaped
てい
from the
た
facility
と
she
あ
was
る施
being
設を
held
脱
at.
走するって騒ぎを起こした
施設ですか
Facility?
天神寮
Divine Light Dorm, non-profit child welfare and correctional facility. At least, that's what it looks to be on the surface. Hmm.
表向きって
No, there's
じゃあ
more
裏
to
があ
it
る
than that.
スポンサーがい
It
る
has a sponsor, the
これが
Cosmic Church of the
天聖
Divine
振
Light.
興会だったりする
天聖
The
信仰
Cosmic Church of the Divine Light. Mostly frowned, then grunted in annoyance. There's
また
another name
面倒
that's
な名前
bound
が
to
出て
cause
き
a
たわね
mess.
ちなみにその天
Divine
神
Light
寮
Dorm
は
went by
2
another
年前
name
まで
until
別の
2 years
名前だ
ago,
った
by the way.
アークハート
Arc
メディ
Heart
カル会
Medical Association. Wow, shocker.
どんな偶然か
I don't know
今
if
や
it's just
渋
a
谷の若者
coincidence or
のカ
what,
リスマ的
but
存在である
Ayase
ゲス
Kishimoto, Thess, The singer role the kids of Shibuya was there too. Sana Hatsuno wasn't there at the same time as her though. Bond leaned forward toward the two of them. And so, here's where it gets really interesting. Arcart Medical Association is a mental health center, unlike Divine Light Dorm. It took care of mental patients. But 2 years ago, Arcart Medical Association suddenly became a non-profit child support center called Divine Light Dorm. When that happened, all the psychiatrists there were laid off, but then everyone was hired immediately by the same place, AH Tokyo General Hospital in Yogi. Interesting. That's the hospital where the doctor was killed during the brain dead incident. Yeah. Fumio Takashina. He was a psychiatrist at AH Tokyo General Hospital. And what's more, the head of the hospital is supposedly very close with Inohana. Shocker. Inohana again. Yua. That boy you were so interested in, Takumi Nishijo, has been to AH Tokyo General 3 times in the past month. Really? And the cops were tailing him the whole time. There's no doubt about it. Nishijo was also hospitalized there several years ago too. The name of his doctor was Fumio Takashina. The hospitalization records were strange though. He began his stay in the hospital at age 10. The record stopped 2 years after that. But there are no records of him ever leaving. Did somebody alter them, I wonder? I couldn't say. I wasn't able to look into it that deeply. Oh, and there's one more thing to know about Sena Hatono. It's a student she's been hanging out with a lot lately, Kozue Orihara. She's a classmate of Nichijo's who transferred here about a month ago. She's got a history of her own. Orihara's father works for a Nozomi Group company. She used to live out in Hiroshima. There was a nasty incident out there where 3 of Orihara's classmates were attacked by an unknown party and badly injured. They all had their right arms severed with a sharp blade. Well then. Orihara was there when it happened. They thought she was the one who did it, but they couldn't arrest her. The weapon didn't exist. There's a rumor that's why she had to move here. The weapon didn't exist. Not that they couldn't find it. Didn't exist. They couldn't even find out what was used. In the circumstances, nobody Orihara could have done it. But even if she was the one who did it, there was nowhere she could have taken that weapon out from, and nowhere she could have hidden it. Some people were seriously suggesting it might be a kamaitachi. A magic trick where you make a sword appear out of nowhere. Maybe so, right? That's really creepy. Yua had her arms wrapped around her body, like she was trying to stop herself from shaking. It's like there's some greater will somewhere that's behind this. Cops like me don't really believe in conspiracy theories, but this time I'm inclined to. The Meiwa party, and then the Nozomi group. These are the 2 where we think the GE rate is involved, huh? And I bet if he went looking, the Cosmic Church of the Divine Light would be involved too. I don't hear good things about them. Unless I took a sip of her tea and shrugged.
バンちゃんには呆れ
You're
る
awful
わ
at your job, Bon.
本来の仕事をほっ
Instead
たら
of
かしに
doing
し
your
て
assigned work,
こんなことを
you're
調べてた
investigating
なん
this
て
crap.
元はといえば、も
It's
もちゃ
your
んが
fault
G
for
レート
telling
の
me
ことを
about
教
the
えてくれ
GE
たの
rate,
が
you
いけ
know.
ないんだぜ。
そうだけど
Yeah, but
それで捜査
it's
本
not
部から
worth
外さ
getting
れちゃっ
kicked
たら
off
世
of
話
the
ないわ
task force.
本当に不器
You
用
really
なん
could
だか
have been a
ら
lot
あん
smarter
な人
about
は
this, you know. She wasn't blaming him, though. It was a very roundabout way of giving him a compliment. It mostly gave him a lot of grief, but in her own way, she respected him.
おっと。
Oops.
電
I
話だ
got a call. Bond's phone began to ring. He looked at the LCD screen and saw it was from an unlisted number.
もしもし。
Hello? There was a heavy static on the line. Bond moved the phone away from his ear and looked at his signal strength. It was good. The problem was the other end. There must be somewhere with really bad reception, he thought.
おい、
Hey,
誰だ
who is this? Back off. It was the unknown caller who had been threatening him lately. The voice sounded mechanical. They were probably using a voice changer. Bond chuckled.
あー
No, Would you give me
い
your
い加
name?
減名乗ってくんねえかな。手を引けって
Back
言わ
off
れても
from.
な。
Who am I supposed to back off
そ
from?
もそも
I need
何
specifics.
から手を引きゃいいんだそこ。
Back off. This is always where it ended. They'd say back off twice, and then they hung up. Every time. It was always the same pattern. No matter what Bond said, they never spoke another word. But today it was different. If you don't.
あ
Uh-oh. Bond,
誰だ
who's there? Sorry. I screwed up. Only then did Bond figure out who was on the other end of the phone.
諏訪か
Is that you, Sua? Yeah. They kidnapped me out of nowhere.
誰にやられた
Who got you?
今どこにいる
Where are you? I don't know. They had a black face mask on. Dread Spider?
相手は一人なんだな
It's just one guy, right? Hmm.
おい
Hey,
大丈夫なのか
are you okay? I don't think so. Help me. Hey, Matt. Hey, Took.
諏訪
Sua. Hey, Sua. But no matter how much Bond yelled, nothing more came from the phone. He hung up. But most I knew were looking at him, concerned.
スワちゃんに何かあった
Did
の
something happen to Sua? Bond stood up and lightly slapped himself on the cheeks.
諏訪が人質に取ら
They
れた
took Sua hostage.
どうやら
Looks like he's at
AH
AH
東京
Tokyo
総合病院に
General
いるみたいだ
Hospital.
まさか
Is it
迷
the
惑
Meiwa party?
ああわかんない
And they don't know.
が
But this
このまま
looks
じゃ
bad.
まずい気がする
応援を頼んだ方が
We
いい
should call for backup.
大ごとにしたらそ
If
れ
I
は
make
諏
this
訪
a
の命
big
じゃね
deal, Sua's a
俺
dead
一人で
man.
様子を見てくれ
I'll go myself. Bond put his fan on the desk in front of Momose. Then he looked at each of the women in turn. There was a bold look on his face that was nowhere to be found a moment ago.
ももちゃんとゆあちゃんも
You
どこ
didn't
か
need
に
to
身を
go
隠せ
hide somewhere safe.
わか
Got
った
it.
な
Oh boy. I found myself heading back to the base. My legs were so heavy, you'd think someone had stuffed them with lead. It wasn't just my legs, my whole body was heavy. I told myself that this weight I was feeling was proof that I was real. Nobody paid any attention to me as I walked on unsteady feet through the streets of the city at night. Until just a little while ago, I'd been so afraid that people would notice me, would laugh at me, that I screamed to them in my mind not to look at me. Right now, I wanted somebody, anybody to look at me. I wanted them to see me. I wanted them to be aware I existed. It was the exact opposite of what I'd wanted just a little while ago. But nobody looked at me. If I screamed, they might look at me with contempt, but I didn't have the courage. I grabbed my phone with sweaty hands. It was the phone I'd gone to go buy with Nanami. There was just 4 numbers in its contact list. Amy's number, Nanami's number, Misumi's number, or the number of my parents' house. I tried as hard as I could to think of a way to use these phone numbers to prove I was real.
あなたは
You are.
妄想の存在なんだよ。
No. I'm not a delusion. I'm real. I'm Takumi Nishijo. I'm 17 years old. I'm a second-year student at Tsuime Academy. I have a mom, a dad, and a little sister.
助けて。
Help me.
僕を証明して。
I was shaking terribly. My teeth were chattering. I wasn't cold, but I was shaking.
助けてよ。
Help me. The number I chose was Misumi's. Let's be gay, let's go. Hello? Oh, Misu. It's you, right? Taku? Who's gotten into you? How things go with Rimi? You managed to lose your virginity, right? You owe me one, you know. I left you two so you could have your privacy. Misumi was the same as ever. It was a relief. He knew me. He knew who was Takumi Nishijo. That was proof I couldn't be a delusion. Rimi was just lying. You know, Minako was just saying something to me. Huh? Minako?
みなこ。
Oh, my girlfriend. So, anyway, Minako says... She said to me that I've been hanging out with you an awful lot for the past month. I was asking why. At first, I was like, what is she talking about? But like, normally, I never hang out with a guy like you know? Are you catching the gaze? I kind of remember meeting you, the Rumi, but I really don't remember the details. It was the same as what I just experienced. No. Please, no. Don't say another word. Just talk about girls like you always do. Why do you have to talk about this today of all days? Listen. When did you and I become friends? I got scared and hung up the phone. Sorry, I just can't help but imagining being on like Misumi's end and just asking that and just being hung up on. It's like, okay, guess I won't know. I thought I was going to cry, but no tears came. Instead, it just felt like my heart had been ripped apart. Next, I decided to call my parents. With trembling fingers, I managed to select the number and press the call button. Nanami was the one who'd saved my parents' number into my phone. I hadn't been the one to do it, so it should definitely be the right number. Would Dad be home at this hour? Or would Mom pick up? Was Nanami there? If they did pick up, what would I say? Was I supposed to ask if I was really their son? They might think I was an idiot. It was a stupid question after all. And what if they said no? What if they said, Takami's in the living room eating dinner with Nanami? What if I called him to prove I was real and ended up proving I was fake? What if they said, who are you? All kinds of terrible thoughts filled my head. I didn't want to know. I was so scared. I was going crazy. It hurt to breathe. I couldn't get the air into my lungs. And then, someone picked up. I tensed as I held the phone up to my ear.
あなたがおかけになった電話番号は現在使われておりません。番号をご確認の上、もう一度おかけ直しください。
Nobody was going to prove that I was real. Nobody was there to help. I wanted to die. I looked up and saw I was on Yamanote Street. It was full of speeding cars. Oh boy. Yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna stick with nothing but bad delusions. I know the technical correct answer would to not have a delusion at all, but sorry, Rimi. I'll save just in case, actually. I don't trust this game to not pull bullshit. Maybe I'd be better off dead if I wasn't real. There was no point in me being alive. If I was a monster, the only thing waiting for me in this world was suffering. There'd be no hope, no dreams. My own existence my own existence disgusted me. I wanted to be free from all of this. If I died, I could be free. If I was dead, I wouldn't have to think about things. I wouldn't have to suffer. Nobody would laugh at me anymore. Nobody would betray me anymore. I longed for nothingness. I took a heavy, slow step forward. I found a spot without a traffic light. I staggered out into the road. I felt like salvation was waiting for me there. The bright flash of a car's headlights, the piercing noise of a car's horn, the unnerving sound of screeching tires. Come on, kill me. I'm not real. I'm a monster. A hard impact near my stomach. My body bent forward. I rolled up onto the hood. Terrible pain. Something hard hit the back of my head. My vision blacked out. I could hear the sound of my bones shattering in my head. It was like I was underwater. I couldn't breathe. It bounced off. I rolled. My limbs flailed. The pain burnt my nerves to ash. Phew. Now I can finally die. Of course. I opened my eyes and saw I was on the sidewalk. The road where I'd been struck was right in front of me. I looked at my body. It was unharmed. No blood. No pain. I felt like I'd become a ghost. I wish I would become a ghost. But if I had, I should have seen my corpse in the road. And I couldn't see my body. I couldn't see the car that had hit me. The delusion. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. I wasn't pretending to want to die for sympathy. I really wanted to die. I jumped out into the road again, hoping that this time I could find salvation. The bright lights of a car's headlights, the piercing noise of a car's horn, the unnerving sound of screeching brakes. Come on, kill me. I'm not real. I'm a monster. A hard impact near my stomach. My body bent forward. I rolled up onto the hood. Terrible pain. Something hard hit the back of my head. My vision blacked out. I could hear the sound of my bones shattering in my head. It was like I was underwater. I couldn't breathe. I bounced off. I rolled. My limbs flailed. The pain burnt my nerves to ash. Phew. Now I could finally die. I opened my eyes. And again. I was on the sidewalk. Why? Why did I keep trying to escape into my delusions? Did I... Uh-huh. I screamed with a shaking voice. I ran out into the road again. The bright lights of a car's headlights, the piercing noise of a car's horn, the unnerving sounds of screeching brakes. Thunk. This time, please, let me die. Nothing had changed. I felt like I was going crazy. Did I actually not want to die? Was I already dead, and this was me dreaming? Maybe my brain gained some kind of super sensory powers just before its death, and I was hallucinating this scene again and again in the single second before I was about to die for real. Not a chance in hell. I tried to run out into the road again, mostly out of sheer frustration, but my legs were shaking. I couldn't move from where I stood. I'd seen delusions of my own death 3 times. The pain I imagined felt real, and it terrified me. It made no sense. I wasn't even sure how I felt anymore. Did I want to die, or did I want to live? Which was it? I want to die. I clenched my jaw. I closed my eyes. I told myself again and again that I wanted to die. Only then was I able to move my legs forward. Even with my eyes closed, I could feel the headlights shining on me. I could hear the ear-splitting sound of the horn. The awful sound of squealing brakes getting closer and closer. Please, just run me over and kill me. Thunk. My wish was denied. I was back on the sidewalk in perfect health. Why? I fell to the ground and started to cry. Why? Why won't I let myself die? I didn't want to live. I wanted to be saved. Or... yeah, okay, that's what that said. Please, release me from this shitty video game. Mimi took out her phone as she walked beneath the train tracks at Shibuya Station. She'd come straight here after leaving Takumi. She picked the name labeled Nana out of her contacts and called it. The phone was picked up immediately. Yeah, it's me. I have something to tell you, actually. I'm thinking of going to save Nana. Remy had a good idea of Remy had a good idea of who had Nanami and where she was being held. She'd been in the same position herself. It was a part of her past she wanted to forget, but if it meant saving Nanami, she was willing to face her memories. The person on the other end of the phone reacted just as she had expected. Remy chuckled. I guess you don't trust me, huh? He'll be fine. Both her voice and expression seemed happy, even cheerful. There was no sign of the iron will inside her. Looking at her, you'd think she was having just a normal conversation. It was a long time ago anyway. In between my feelings and saving Nana, it's obvious which one is more important. I told you, I want to help you. And I don't want to get Taku involved. Yumi's expression clouded after she said those words. Hey, can I tell you something? I said a lot of really mean things to Taku. And the worst part is, I know this is really selfish, but I had a lot of fun when I was around him. I mean, it was just lies held together with delusions. My life at school. And the fact that Taku and I were students there. And the fact that Daichin was my friend. Even me trying to stay by his side. Even Taku himself. Yumi's pace began to slow, little by little. People she didn't recognize were overtaking her from behind. Taku's such a wimp. He's so weak and helpless. No normal girl would ever even notice him. As she spoke, her grip on her phone tightened. But for some reason, my heart's telling me I had fun. For some reason, my heart's telling me I wish I could have spent more time with him. What do you think this feeling is? She looked up at the neon-lit sky. She couldn't see the stars. Mimi stood there, unmoving, for a moment. She smiled, just a little, at the person on the other end of the phone. Okay, I'm going to hang up. Really, it's fine. You don't need to worry about a thing. I'm going to put an end to this. Okay? Takumi. I no longer had the strength to do anything. The next thing I knew, I was back at the base. I must have gotten here somehow after failing to kill myself on Yamanote Street, but I couldn't remember how.
このコンテナっ
I
て
even brought this big shipping crate up
誰
here.
がどうやってここまで運んだんだろ
Until now, I never even thought about it. But now, I realized just how bizarre it was. It made me feel even worse. When I closed the door, the room became pitch black. I leaned up against it, motionless. The only sounds in the quiet room were the rumbling of the computer fan and my own shallow breathing. I thought that maybe in the darkness, I wouldn't have to think about how ugly I was, while the opposite was true. With the silence and the darkness surrounding me, Rimi's cruel words were echoing in my mind over and over again.
あなたは
You are
妄想の存在なんだよ。
Even my crying sounded creepy and disgusting. I felt like I was going to vomit. It was creepy enough already. If I didn't even exist like regular people did, that was even worse. I wanted to just disappear. I slowly walked over to the other side of the room, tripping over the garbage on the floor as I went. I turned on the lights and drove away the darkness. My eyes fell on the Sayadaton, post-awakening version, figure on my desk. I grabbed it and slumped into my chair. I held Sayadaton close to my chest. She was so small, so hard. She wasn't breathing. She wasn't speaking to me. She didn't have the warmth the 3D girl did. Oh boy. But right now, Sayadaton was all I had. Yumi had left me. Nanami was missing. Senna had tried to kill me. Kosubi hadn't tried to stop her. Yua was my enemy. And Ayase was in the hospital. These were the only girls whose names I knew, and none of them were going to do anything to help me. Reality was cruel. They didn't care about a monster like me. I gripped Sayadaton with shaking hands, tighter and tighter, until I thought she'd break. I wanted to just disappear.
だったら消えればいいんでしょ
Disappear then, if that's what you want to do. Thanks, Sayadaton. Love it. You're so supportive. Yeah. I'll disappear if that's what you all want. I'll disappear on you. I got out the box beneath my bed. If I remembered right, I kept the knife in there. Oh boy. I can take a guess where this is going. For a while, I had this ridiculous idea that walking around with a knife made you cool. Looking back, it was idiotic. I stopped when the police had started doing more stop and frisk stuff. Sure enough, there was a folding knife in the box, among keychains, trading cards, and old pens and pencils. I flipped open the blade. It shone strangely in the light. It was a little rusty. I hadn't taken it out in almost a year. But if I was going to slit my wrist, what would I care about some rust? I was holding Sayadaton in my left hand. I held the knife up against my wrist. The blade felt chilly against my skin. The cold made me think of death. I closed my eyes. I took 3 deep breaths. All I had to do now was drag the knife hard against the skin. Just a single motion of my right hand, and it would all be over. My heart was pounding. My non-existent heart sounded like a loud drum beating in my chest. I didn't care. It wasn't even real. My head felt like someone was pouring cold ice into it. I couldn't stop shaking. If anything, my body's shaking was just getting even worse. What did it care? It wasn't even real. Cut. Slit your wrists. Then you can disappear. Good thing he doesn't have neighbors. I screamed, trying to work up the energy to die. Cut, 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 cut. Very normal thoughts. And shaking was so violent that I dropped my Seidaton figure. Rest in peace, Seidaton. The knife was still pressed up against my skin. The hand holding it was shaking too.
ダメだ。
No,
で
I
きない
can't do it.
で
I
き
can't
ない
do
よ
it. I threw away the knife and curled up in my chair. I mean, even if Buddy did it, like, cutting doesn't kill you. It's not that simple. It was so pathetic. I didn't even have the courage to die. My life was worthless. But I couldn't even die. I was a disgusting monster. I couldn't even end my own life. It was so pathetic. So useless. I didn't even really want to live. I was just scared of dying. Scared of disappearing. What did I care? I'm not even real.
頼むよ。
Please.
誰かこの
Somebody
子を
kill
殺してくれ。
In the end, I just had to hope that somebody else would kill me. I couldn't do it myself. I was such a failure that I couldn't even kill myself without other people's help.
そんなタッキーも可
I
愛い
think
よ
you're cute anyway, Taki. Seidaton was smiling. I felt disgusted at myself for making her say those things. I was a worthless piece of shit. Hospitals empty out fast at night. Perhaps there was too much life and too much death in the daytime, and so these hours were used to restore the balance. There's no smell of life or death at this hour, only an empty silence. Yasuchiban chuckled to himself. He was a weird guy to be thinking about these things. But it did seem especially quiet today. There wasn't even lights out yet, but the lights in the hallways were off, and there were no nurses to be seen. The second Bond set foot in the lobby, he started to have a really bad feeling. There was no real reason for it. It was just what you might call a detective's intuition. My intuition's pretty damn good too, isn't it? Maybe the strangely religious thoughts he was having were his way of trying to take his mind off the feeling. He'd taken a taxi here, called Suwa several times on the way. But Suwa hadn't picked up once. A fact that spoke more about his current situation than any words he could say. There was no time to waste. He had to find where in this huge hospital Suwa was being held, and then rescue him. And without the kidnapper finding him either. Any kind of shoes would echo off the linoleum floor. Bond had taken off his leather boots off before he'd come into the lobby. It was almost winter. He could feel the coldness of the floor through his socks, and it made him shiver. Bond! The sound of the main entrance automatic door opening echoed through the lobby before he heard the girl actually calling his name. Yeah. When he saw Yua Kusunoki come into the lobby, he was so stunned he couldn't speak. He quickly ran over to the girl. She had a nervous look in her eyes as she glanced around her.
おい、
Hey,
なん
what
で
are
つ
you
いてきたん
doing
だ
here?
身を隠
I
せって
told you
言
to
った
go
だろ
hide.
すみません
I'm sorry,
でも
but
私
Bond looked around for Momose, but she was nowhere to be found. Bond scratched his head. She'd come here alone.
今すぐ戻れ。
Get out of here
これ
now.
遊びじゃねえんだ
This
ぞ。
isn't a game.
それは
I know
分かっている
that.
つもりです
分かってるなら帰るんだ。
Then go. Then he heard a creaking sound coming from one of the hallways connected to the lobby. The hallway was empty and dark, and in the middle of it was an empty wheelchair, slowly coming toward them. And then at almost the same time, they heard the sound of someone running up the stairs.
とにかくユアちゃんは帰れ。
Just
いい
leave.
な。
Go. Bond spoke, then started to run. He raced up the stairs, following the sound of the footsteps, without bothering to wait for her answer. He was faster and more agile than you'd ever think it from his usual laid-back attitude. Following the footsteps led him to the roof of the outpatient building. And there's a little garden there, with planters full of flowers. It was probably a place of relaxation for the patients here, but unfortunately, it wasn't lit up. He couldn't tell what kind of flowers were blooming all around him. The wind was strong up on the roof. Still out of breath, and glanced quietly around him. The man whose footsteps he'd heard had definitely ran up here, but then he disappeared. Had he fallen for somebody's trap? The footsteps had almost seemed like they were there to attract his attention. The only possible reason was that they wanted to lure him out here. Bond didn't have a gun on him right now. He was nervous without a weapon. He looked around to see if anything might serve as one, but came up empty-handed. He gulped and wiped the sweat on his forehead away with his fingers. One step at a time, he proceeded toward the center of the garden. There were plenty of places for a person to hide, behind that bench, or on the other side of that planter. He sharpened all his nerves, to be ready no matter where the attack came from. The center of the garden was a big circle with benches all around its outer perimeter. He looked at each one in turn, then noticed something strange on one of them. He slowly walked over to it, being careful not to let his guard down. As he got closer, it began to take shape. Ah. It was the size of a soccer ball, round and black. Darth Spider has made a return. It was a severed human head. Bond had been involved in a few murder cases where the victims had been dismembered. It reminded him of the photos he'd seen. That's pretty clearly Darth Spider. His bad feelings got worse and worse. The thought that it might be his partner's head filled him with rage and frustration. Bond clenched his jaw hard and took another step toward the bench. The thing on the bench wasn't moving at all. A cold wind blew. Jesus. And then he heard the gunshot. It was so fast and so sudden that he froze. He was supposed to drop to the ground, and then in the direction of the sound, but he couldn't. No. Actually. There was no need to even bother anymore. He felt a burning pain in his chest, and touched it with his hands. Rest in peace, Bond. It was slick and wet. Something was pouring out his body. He recognized the raw stench. And then a moment later, his brain recognized the pain. He'd been shot. By the time he realized, his legs had already given out. He'd fallen face first to the ground, unable to stand. The footsteps from before were coming closer to him now. He looked up at the approaching man with the vision that was already starting to blur. A black shadow, a gun in its hand. It was too dark to see the man's face.
Ah.
Aww. You heard a voice.
I
I told you to back off, you know. It was a voice he knew. It's a real shame it had to end this way, partner. Mamoru Suwon walked right past his older partner, whispering in a mocking tone. Is that you, Suwa? You're the one who shot me. Yeah, that's right. First time I've ever fired a gun, in fact. Suwa laughed as he reached over and picked up the thing on the bench. You know, you seemed awfully interested in this thing. Haven't you ever seen it before? It's a Darth Spider helmet. Suwa walked back to him and held the helmet right in front of his face. I guess that's what I get. He chuckled. He could barely even see now. His limbs felt terribly cold. There was a pain in his chest, but it wasn't unbearable. He felt an intense gaze, like somebody looking at him, but he couldn't tell if it was Suwa or someone else. Realizing he only had a few minutes left to live, he forced his body to turn over. Now he was stretched out, looking up at the sky. It was cloudy, though, and he couldn't see the stars. Even if they had been out, his vision was too dark now to see them. As he coughed, You could taste the blood in his mouth.
だあ
You know,
そう
Zuma,
お前は
you're
バカ
an
だ
idiot. You're
まだ
still a
まだ
kid.
ガキで
Still a little
どう
dumbass
しようもない
detective.
くらいのバカなデカだだが
But you
俺
know,
はお
I
前の
liked
こと結
you.
構買ってた
自分は
And I
先
always
輩が
found you
鬱陶しく
incredibly
てしょう
annoying.
がなかったっすよ。
まあ
Well,
気持ちは
I can understand that. His breathing was getting rapidly shallower. There was a wheezing sound as air fled from his throat. His vision was now totally black.
何者なんだ
Are you?
お前
Earth spidered up. That was Bond's last question before he passed out. Siwa answered as he pointed the gun at him.
魔法使いっす。
The mage. Stupid kid. At some point, the wind had stopped. The darkness was suddenly quiet. The two silhouettes stopped moving. And that was only for a minute. Siwa slowly pulled the trigger.
先輩に
May the divine
信
light save
仰
you,
の救い
partner.
あれ。
Well. Jesus Christ, Haku. Jesus. Calm down. A little bit. Saying kill me a bunch in an online chat doesn't do anything. Of course, he's just gonna keep going, huh? Hey. Poor Grim. Have you gone crazy, lol? Or did your IRL girlfriend dump you? Let me tell you something you'll want to hear, then. If you stay a virgin till age 30... you'll learn to use magic. And that's important, so don't forget it. I'll be on the test. You'll be on the test, rather. Well, I'm telling you things that are important. Should be a scramble crossing. One hour from now, something big is gonna go down. ROFL, cut that shit out. Go see what's happening then. You're famous. Well, I'll be excited to see you. Isn't that reason to not go? Maybe somebody will kill you there? Okay. I turned off the power to the monitor and pulled my legs up onto the chair.
僕を
Kill
殺してよ
somebody.
誰か
お兄ってば
I was holding my one ally, Seiritsan, in my hand. No. I heard Seda in the background. It's like, oh yeah, that's obviously Sarah speaking. But as I read the sentence, then that is not Sarah speaking. That is just Takumi having thoughts. Let's try that again. I was holding my one ally, Seda-tan, in my hand.
おーい開け
My hands were so sweaty that her slender torso was now sticky and disgusting. Her arms were bent at an unnatural angle, too.
ろこら開け
Hey, open the door! Oh boy. That voice. No. How?
バカ鬼
Stupid brother! There was no mistaking it. Out of all the girls who visited the base, only one was the type to yell like that. Nanami was here. I was a little shocked at how little emotion this inspired in me. I just didn't care. Even if Nanami was here now, what difference did it make? It wasn't even that strange that she'd be here. Remy had just said she was going to save her, right?
開けないと
It's really mean of you not to open the door. And the way she was yelling was starting to annoy me. I'm a monster. Just leave me alone. Just forget about me and think about your right hand instead. Not that even I want to know what happened to it. I never wanted to talk to another person again.
鬼
Brother! But she was just so annoying that I found myself getting out of the chair and heading to the door. It felt like it was taking me a long time to get there. That's when I realized I was afraid of seeing her. It was Nanami standing there. But for some reason, she was soaked even though it wasn't raining. Drops of water were pouring off her school uniform. Her head was slumped forward and her face was hidden by her bangs. I didn't see her expression. Just a second ago, she'd been yelling at the top of her lungs, but now she wasn't saying a word. She stretched out an arm toward me. It was her right arm, but there's no hand attached to the wrist. The stuff was hidden by her sleeve, and I couldn't see it clearly, but her hand definitely wasn't there. Brother. It was a low voice that didn't sound like Nanami at all. Brother. Slowly, Nanami looked up. Her skin was pale and raw. Her eyes were a dark black. Her eye sockets were hollow. There was no eyeballs in them, just pools of blackness. A maggot crawled out from the sunken hole. This is a corpse. Nanami's corpse was moving and talking. Brother. Nanami's left hand grabbed me by the throat. It stank. It was so cold. I shivered. Her grip was incredibly tight. It was hard to believe a girl could be so strong. Not even many boys were this strong. It felt like my neck bones were going to shatter. It hurt to breathe. I coughed. Her grip got tighter. I was going to die. I flailed my hands, but stopped just as quickly as I started. If you're going to kill me, then come on, do it. It made me feel a little better knowing that Nanami's ghost would be what killed me. It was my fault she ended up like that. She was the perfect person to do it. So, come on. I closed my eyes. I let her do what she wanted. Come on, tap my neck. Do it. Nanami's corpse disappeared. Instead of standing at the door, I was sitting on the sofa. I was holding Seda-tan in my hand. Nanami was standing in my room, talking. She had a bandage on her right wrist, but her hand was there. Her skin looked normal. Her clothes weren't wet. Her eyes were there. I realized that what I'd just seen was a delusion. It was disappointing. Why did it have to be a delusion? Why couldn't it be real?
鬼もしかしてお
Are
腹
you
空いて
hungry,
る
maybe? She saw my sigh and leaned over me.
だからさっきから全
Maybe
然元
that's
気
why
な
you
いん
look
です
so
よ
down.
しょうがないから
Fine.
ナナが
I'll
なんか
make you
作ってあげる
something.
よ何
Hmm.
がいいか
What
な
would be good to make?
あ、そう
Oh,
だ
I know.
オムラ
A
イスし
fried
ようか
rice
な
omelet.
最近
I've been
卵を
making
半
a
熟
lot
に
of
するの
soft
が
cooked
マイ
eggs
ブームなん
lately,
だ
you know?
すごいでしょ
Impressive, huh?
お兄も一
If
人
you
暮ら
didn't
しな
live
んか
by
しなか
yourself,
ったら
you could have been
ナナ
eating
の
my
美味しい
yummy
美味しい
soft
半
cooked
熟オ
fried
ムライ
rice
スを食
omelets,
べ
you
られ
know?
たのにもったいないことしたね
You missed out. Nanami was still talking. She seemed like she was in a really good mood, too. Normally all she did when she came here was complain. Was this the real Nanami? She didn't sound anything like she had on the phone. It was almost suspicious how different she seemed. I started to wonder if maybe she was a delusion. The whole world was just a delusion. Delusion taking place inside my brain. Me and everything I was seeing right now. All delusions. All fake. Even if she was real, though, I didn't care. That was a delusion. I wasn't her real brother. We weren't even related. I didn't want to think about anything.
ね
Hey,
え、なあ
Nanami.
み。
I called out to the girl in front of me, who might or might not be my sister.
お前が本物で
don't
も
even
偽
care if you're
物で
real
も
or
どっ
not.
ちでもいいよ。
There's only one thing I wanted now.
僕を
Would you
殺して
please
くれない
kill me?
か。
I want to know how her Just outside the front lobby of AH Tokyo General Hospital, Yua Kusunoki was standing at what lay beyond the automatic door. Bon had told her to leave, so she had come outside, but she'd been too worried to go any further than that. Bon had disappeared up the stairs, chasing a mysterious figure. It had been less than 3 minutes, but she was looking into the lobby to see if he would come back. After Bon had gone alone to the hospital, Yua had ignored Mimose's warnings and gone after him. She needed to do whatever it would take to find out the truth about her sister's death and who had killed her. Somebody had sent Bon those threatening phone calls and kidnapped his partner Suwa. Whoever it was, they were probably the person who killed Mia. Something was telling her that, and so, when the urge had come to follow him, she couldn't fight it off. Despite all of his warnings that getting involved was dangerous, she'd come here anyway. And of course, now that she was here, there wasn't anything she could do. She was just a powerless teenage girl. Her hope had been that Bond would heroically catch the killer, and then she'd have a chance to question him. Why did my little sister have to die? That was the question Yua wanted to ask most of all. She felt somebody looking at her. She glanced around, nervously. The sun hadn't been down for more than 2 hours. The hospital's front entrance was eerily silent. The after-hours entrance was right next to it. This was also where the emergency patients would be brought in, but there was nobody there. The train was passing by right alongside the hospital, but there were almost no cars on the wide street in front of it, and no pedestrians at all. This spot, between Shibuya and Shinjuku, 2 towns that never slept, was like a shadow born of 2 powerful lights. Whoever was looking at her, she couldn't find them. She put a hand on her chest and took a deep breath to calm her nervousness. Then, for no real reason, she looked toward the hospital wards. Oh boy. The girl was standing there. The lights at the entrance to the wards were off. It was hard to see, but for some reason, she could see the girl clearly against the darkness.
ミヤちゃん
Mia, she whispered, knowing it was impossible, and yet unable to stay silent. The girl looked just like her, looked just like her dead younger twin sister. She recognized the girl's outfit, too. It was her younger sister's clothes. She thought for a moment that it might be a ghost, and that the hairs on the back of her neck stood up on end. The girl turned around and ran, heading toward the automatic door that marked the entrance to the hospital ward. When she got close, the door opened. So, she wasn't a ghost then. He stood there for a moment, stunned, before starting to run after her. The wards must have been past lights out, because it was even quieter than the outside. Each step Yua took got good far down the hallways. Just like the outside, the quiet was almost eerie. The girl disappeared up the stairs. She heard what sounded like a faint laugh. It was like a scene out of a horror movie, Yua thought to herself. She took a slow step up the stairs and then another. She arrived at the 2nd floor. She looked down the hallway, but there was nobody there. She wondered if maybe she was seeing things when... She heard a girl's laugh from the floor above. The voice, the way she laughed. Yua knew them both well. Yua went up to the 3rd floor, looked down the hallway, and saw a girl who looked just like her standing there. One of the victims in the first New Gen case, the group dive, her sister, who died 2 months ago. She was standing there, as real and solid as anything around her. Impossible. Yua took off her glasses and rubbed her eyes, but when she put them back on, Mia was still there.
みえちゃん
Mia,
なのどう思う
what do you think? The voice was far too clear to be a hallucination. There was a fearless smile on the girl's face. It was just like Yua remembered her. Mia was always like that. She always used to laugh in such a mocking way, so she could play the villain.
みやちゃ
Mia,
ん本当に
do you really
私が
think that I'm Mia and you're
あな
Yua?
たユアだと思う
What
どういう
do you mean?
もし
What if it was the other way around?
あなたはミア
You're Mia.
死んだのは
Yua
ミア
died, and you killed her.
殺したのはあなた
But
何を言
what
って
are
い
you
るの
talking about?
あなたは
You
親
were
に愛
jealous
され
of
る
how your
姉が
parents
疎まし
loved
く
your
て
sister.
ネットで
You hired
殺
to
人
kill
を
her
依頼
over
した
the
のよ
internet.
しかも
And then you had 4 other
自殺に見せかけるように
people jump to their
見ず
deaths
知らずの
along
4
with
人
her
も
to make it
一
look
緒
like
に
a
飛び降りさ
suicide.
せたあなたは姉になりす
You
まし
took your
て
sister's place.
妹の死を
You
悲し
pretended
み
to be sad about her
涙
death.
を流している
And while
ふり
you
を
wept
しながら
crocodile tears,
これまで
you
姉
were
が
smiling
独
to
占してい
yourself
た親
because
の
so
愛
all
を
your
手に入れ
parents'
て
love was now
心
yours.
の中では北総んでいる
No,
違うわ
that's not true.
私はユアよ
I'm Yua.
誰がそれを証明す
Can
るの
anybody prove that?
私はユア
I
のは
think
ず
I'm Yua.
でも確信が
But
持
you
て
can't
ない
be sure.
私を
What
私だと
proves
証明す
that
るものって
I'm you? Me?
何
Me?
顔
My
名
looks?
前
My memories?
記憶
My name?
自分のことなの
I
に
know myself better than anybody.
自分で自分を証
But
明
I
するな
can't
んて
prove that I'm
不可能
myself.
私が
So
ミアだっていう可能性も
that I'm
ある
Mia?
のあなたはいろいろと
You
調べ
looked
て
up
い
all
たじゃ
kinds
な
of
い
things when you were doing your research, right?
多重人格
Multiple
無
personalities,
遊病
sleepwalking,
記憶捏造
false
それ
memories,
から
and delusions. All the research Yua had done about how imperfect memories were, and how easily they could be faked, suddenly seemed truly real for the first time. She didn't know who she was. Who was she? Mia shook her head violently.
あなたは
Who
誰
are you? Who am I? Yua, the girl who always played the goody two-shoes, who was automatically loved and praised by her parents. Mia, the girl who always played the bad girl, who actively sought out her parents' hate while being jealous of the affection they gave her older sister.
さあ
Now,
私も
it's my turn. Mia, or maybe Yua, began to guide Yua, or maybe Mia, without a sound, began to walk,
私と同じ目に
suffer
遭いな
like
さ
you
い
did. Yua and Mia, two identical twins, indistinguishable from each other, the boundary between them grew more and more indistinct. The two buildings were two huge boxes standing in the darkness. But compared to the huge skyscrapers of Shinjuku next to them, they were like children looking up at grown-ups. The roof of the ward, that was where Mia had brought Yua. There was a gap torn in the corner of the tall fence surrounding it, just big enough for a person to pass through. It wasn't clear who had made it or why. Mia and Yua went through the gap and stood on the edge of the roof. In front of them was the outpatient building. It wasn't as tall as the building they were on. They could see the garden below. But there were no lights there, and even if someone was there, Yua couldn't tell. The wind was blowing hard on the roof. The two girls' clothing and long hair, or long, soft hair, popped violently as the wind blew into them.
私たちは
At the
もと
very
もと
start,
一つだったんだから。また
all
戻
we're
るだ
doing
け。
is going back.
一歩を踏み
Just
出
one
せば
step forward,
あなたは
and
私
you,
になる。
I'll be you, me. Yua's voice was monotone. Her eyes were empty. She spread out her hands to keep her balance against the violent winds. Mia was right next to her, spreading out her hands in the same way. She turned to Yua and laughed.
耐える必要なんて
You
な
don't
いよ
have。to keep your balance.
あなたは
You need
私
to
の
know my
痛みを知ら
pain.
なくちゃならない。さあ
Now,
飛んで
jump,
そうすれば
and then
私も
you
あ
and
な
I
た
will
も
share the same
同
pain.
じ痛みを共有するわ。私は
Which
どっちなの？
am I? Me?
私
You?
あなた
It
それを聞いても意味は
doesn't
ない
even
わ。
matter.
どっちにしたって
Whichever I am,
あなたは飛
I'm
んで
going to jump. You're going to jump. All hesitation disappeared from within her, and Yua went to take a step forward. A gunshot tore through the night air. Suddenly, Yua came back to her senses. She looked down beneath her and screamed. She saw how high up she was, and suddenly felt dizzy. She lost her balance and almost fell. She grabbed on desperately to the fence behind her, but just barely managed to avoid falling. The gunshot had come from the roof of the other building below her. She looked down at it again. She could just barely make out human figures in the middle of the rooftop garden. There were two of them. One was lying on the ground, the other was standing next to it.
バンさん
Bon? Had the detective shot someone? Or had someone shot him?
何をしてるの？
What are you doing?
どうして私と同じ
Why
痛
won't
みを
you
味わ
suffer
おうとし
like
な
I
いの？
did?
そんなの卑怯よ。
It's not fair.
ずるい
You're
わ。
not being fair.
みやちゃん
Mia.
違うわ。
No.
私はユア
I'm
よ。
Yua.
ユアは
I'm
私。
Yua.
ミヤはあなた。
You're Mia.
あなたは一体
What are
何な
you?
の？私はあなたの
I'm
望
what you
んだもの。
desired.
あなたは私の望
You're
んだ
what
も
I
の。
desired. Mia leapt at her. She wrapped her hands around Yua's neck. Yua felt incredible pressure on her throat. She couldn't breathe. Mia was no ghost. There was a real, physical body in front of her. He was strangling her.
お願い
Please,
死んでよ。
die.
今日ぐらい
Do what I want
私の
you
お願
to.
いを聞いて。
Just this once.
いつも我
I
慢してき
always
たん
let you
だから。
have your way. Mia's vision turned red. Her hands flailed through the air, but she couldn't grab onto anything. She was going to die here. In the face of this overwhelming fear, Yua used every muscle in her whole body to push back against Mia, with a strength she didn't even know she had. But Mia was strong. She didn't budge at all. Not even Yua's thoughts were turning red. Her mind felt like it was Her mind felt like it was being covered in sticky red blood. She shook her head violently, and her glasses fell off. Now, from the outside, you couldn't tell who was who. Whoever won would be whoever they wanted to. If Yua died, Mia could become Yua. Mia died, Yua could become Mia. Yua felt a growing sense of resignation within her. In front of her was the face of Mia, and perhaps Yua, blurred with hatred. She looked away, not wanting to see it. With red eyes and red vision, she saw one of the flower beds and the flowers on the rooftop garden. It felt like maybe there was a strange shadow mixed in with them. Maybe her eyes were playing tricks on her without her glasses. But now she couldn't even breathe. She felt a tiny sense of peace working its way through the pain. Part of her thought that maybe it would be okay to give up, but her survival instincts made her reject the peace she felt. Yua reached out toward the strange shadow. The planter was at least 2 meters away. It was far too far away for her hand to reach, but she felt something cold and hard in her hand. She grabbed it, almost unconsciously. And then, her fading conscience became clear again, as if a fog had lifted. powerful, invincible shockwave shook the air. Red lights, like flower petals, danced in the sky, and her twin sister was knocked away. Yuba coughed and staggered to her feet, and then looked down in awe at the item in her hand. It was a sword. So sharp, so dazzling and elegant. So aquiline, so pure. So bewildering and mystical, so delicate and fragile. And so beautiful it brought you to tears. Both of them say that one. What is this? The thing in her hands. The first thing it reminded her of was the sword she told Bon about, the one she'd seen Ayase holding in the tunnel. But
今のは
what was that?
何？
Mia crawled out of the planter that the shockwave had knocked her into. She was holding her head in pain.
あなたは
What did you do?
何をしたの？私は ミヤちゃん。
Mia, I
私
finally understand why I was so obsessed with figuring out why you died.
どうしてここまで一生懸命あなたの死の真相を調べていたのか。私を殺そうとし
Did
た
you
の？
try to kill me?
私は
Was I about to die
ま
again?
た殺されるところだったの？結局
In the end, I was
私
just
はあなた
afraid
が
of you.
怖かったのよ。
I thought you died to get back at me.
当てつけに死なれ
I
たと
didn't
思ったの。
understand you.
あなたがわからなかったの。あなたが死んだ理由は
And I wanted to prove that it wasn't my fault you
私
died,
のせいじゃ
so
ない
I'd feel safe.
証明して。安心最低の。
I'm a terrible big
お姉ちゃん
sister,
ね。
aren't I?
どうして
Why won't
死
you
んでくれない
die?
のよ。
And there's no sense in talking to her anymore. Two hearts that had once been one were now completely separate, never to rejoin again. Mia came at her once more. You remember the pain she felt just a moment ago, and shivered in terror. No. There was a flash. The sword in her hand curved in a sharp arc, and sliced the ghost in two. Mia froze. She had a stunned expression on her face. She ran her hands along the wound, which ran from her left side to her right shoulder. There's no blood.
ミヤちゃんは
Mia died
2ヶ月前に
2 months ago.
死にました。
So,
それな
so,
ら
who are you?
あなたは誰なんですか？
Large particles, big enough to see with the naked eye, began to appear around Mia's body. Her body began to bubble and gradually fall apart, its outlines fading away. And then it transformed into something else. Yua looked on in shock. In Mia's place appeared a fat man. He was wearing a denim shirt and filthy jeans, and had a backpack on his back. He was a man she'd never seen.
誰？
Who?
あなた
Who are you?
誰？どうして
Why
ミヤちゃ
did you
んが
look like
姿に
Mia? How?
どうやって？
Confused, Yua began to step backwards, the D-sword still in her hand. The man hadn't expected her to see him. It appeared, and he was beginning to panic himself.
お前こそなんで
How did you
まさかこのガキ
to tell me this kid's a maniac? Nobody said anything about that.
くそ
Shit.
どうしたら
What do I do? The object was almost perfectly level as it flew at him, as if gravity didn't exist.
Huh?
Huh. By the time he turned around, it already stabbed itself into the backpack he was carrying. A pale flash of light came from the backpack. He went perfectly stiff, as if hit by an electric shock. His eyes rolled back into his head as he fell forward on his face. He was foaming at the mouth, and his body was twitching. The thing that had struck his backpack. It was a beautiful curved sword like the one that Yua had just grabbed from the air.
これ
This is... Yua recognized the weapon. She'd seen it once before. Someone was coming closer. Yua looked up. She saw someone appear out of the darkness.
何事かと思っ
And
た。
just came to take a look.
こんな騒ぎに
I
なって
guess
いた。
something big happened. Huh.
岸本
Kishimoto.
さん。
He also gave you a sort of single, expressionless glance.
感じる
I can feel
大
it.
いなる意
The
志を
great will. This must be the
私がこ
reason
の
that I
病院に居
remained
続けた
here
意
in
味は
this hospital.
こういうことだったんだわ。
Huh? Yua had fallen to the ground in shock. Yase picked up Yua's glasses off the roof and offered them to her, taking a knee to look down on her face. Her slender fingers gently stroked Yua's hair as she put the glasses on her face.
君も
So,
グラジオ
you
ー
two
ル
are
の
a
黒
Black
騎士だ
Knight,
った
the
のね。
Gladio. Her smile was weak and fragile.
僕を
Would you?
殺してくれないか。
Nanami's face tensed up, but she quickly forced a fake smile.
お兄、つ
Brother,
まんない冗談や
that's
めな
not
よ。
funny. That wasn't how Nanami would react. Instead of laughing it off, the real Nanami would yell, "That's not funny," and then I'd be in for a long lecture. Not that it mattered anyway. It didn't matter. This Nanami wasn't going to kill me, then I wasn't interested in her at all. She could disappear right now and I wouldn't care. Sayuratan and I stared into each other's eyes. If Sayuratan was 3D, she'd grant my wish, I knew. If I did insist anyway, why couldn't I be 2D instead?
ねえ、
Hey,
そんな冗談は置いといて。
jokes aside,
その
I need to talk to you
話がある
about
んだ。
something.
あのね、
I
お兄にもらったバング
lost the
ル
bangle you
なくし
gave
ちゃった
me.
の。
ど
どうせ適当に
Don't
扱っ
tell
て
me
たん
that
だ
I
ろとか言わ
didn't
ない
take
で
good care
ね。
of it.
あ
That's
の
not true.
そんなこ
I
として
really
ないもん。
did.
本当に大切にしてたもん。なのに、
But
どこで
I
なくし
don't
た
know
のかも
where I
わかんな
lost
くて。
it. She actually cared about that thing. How stupid. From my perspective, it was the stupidest thing in the world. It was a present from me, wasn't it? Nothing I gave somebody could have any value at all.
僕は妄想じゃない。
Delusion.
僕は妄想じゃない。
How could I be sure that I'd even given that to her? Maybe the fact that I'd given it to her at all was just delusion too. This whole world was worthless. Everything in my memories was worthless.
僕は妄想じ
Not
ゃ
a
ない。
delusion. I'm not a
僕は
delusion.
妄想じゃない。
お兄が
It was
初
the
めてく
first
れたプ
present
レ
you
ゼント
gave
だった
me
のに
too.
な。なんでなく
Why
しちゃっ
did I
たり
lose
したんだ
it?
ろう。
I wonder.
僕は
I'm not
妄
a
想じゃない。
delusion. I'm
僕
not
は
a
妄
delusion.
想じゃない。
お兄、聞
Brother,
いてる？
are you listening?
僕は妄想じゃない。
I'm not
僕
a
は妄
delusion.
想じゃない。
お兄は
Brother,
どうして
why are you always
いつ
like
もそうなの？
this? Her head slumped forward. She clenched her fist tightly. Nanami's whisper was soft.
たまには
Just this
お
once.
兄ちゃんらしく
Why can't you be like most
頼り
big
がいのあるとこ
brothers? Somebody who can help me. What? You're asking the wrong person for help. It's a delusion.
僕は
I'm
妄
not
想
a
じゃない。
delusion. I'm
僕
not a
は妄
delusion.
想じゃない。
I stared at Sayadatan's smile, making sure to not let myself see anything else. There was no reason to listen to Naname's words. There was no point. It was just a delusion.
今までずっと
I've always
ナナがしっかりし
tried
な
my
きゃって思
hardest
っ
to
て
be there for you.
頑張ってきたけど、でもね、
But
やっぱり
once in a while,
ナナだってた
I
ま
want
には
somebody to be there for
誰
me.
かに甘えたいよ。うん、
No,
誰か
not
にじ
just
ゃなく
somebody.
てお兄に。
I want you to be there for me.
僕は妄想じゃない。僕は妄想じゃない。
だって
You're
お兄
my
は
big brother.
ナナのお兄なんだから、お兄に頼りたいって思
Sometimes I
うこ
want
と
you
ナ
to help me with stuff.
ナにもあるんだよ。
僕は妄想じゃない。
I'm Not a
僕はもうそうじゃない。
そりゃ
I mean,
いつ
sure.
もああしろ
You
こうし
probably
ろ言
don't
われ
like
て
it when I tell you
鬼も
to
嫌
do
だろうけど
things.
それは
But that's
お
only
兄が
because
だ
I
らしな
have
いから
to.
仕
You're
方
too
な
lazy
く
to do them yourself.
ううん
No.
言いたいこと
That's not
は
what
そ
I'm
ういうこ
trying
と
to
じゃなくて
say.
僕はもうそうじゃない。
I'm
僕はもうそうじゃない。
ナナだって
sometimes.
いろいろ
There are times I want you
愚痴を聞い
to
てもらい
listen
たい
to
時
me
とか
complain.
泣き
There
た
are
い時
times
と
when I
か
want to cry,
あるんだ
okay?
よお兄に優
Sometimes
しくしてもらいた
I
い
want
時
you
と
to
か
be nice
あ
to
るんだよ
me.
僕はもうそうじゃない。僕はもうそうじゃない。
ね
Hey,
えお兄
brother,
ナナの話
listen to me.
ナナ
I'm really,
すごく
really sad right now.
悲しいんだよお兄にもらった
I lost the pingle you
大
gave
切
me,
なバングル
the one I really loved.
なくなっちゃって声出して
I'm really sad.
泣きたいく
I want to cry really
ら
loud.
い悲しくて辛くてお兄に
I want you to give me a big hug. That would be wonderful, actually.
お兄に
I want you to pat
頭
my
撫で
head
て慰めて
and
ほ
tell
し
me
いの
it's
に
okay.
ね え
Hey,
お兄
brother,
今日だけは
just this once.
ナ
I
ナ
want
の
you
わがまま
to be there
受け
for
止めて
me.
よ
Hmm. Poor Nanami. I slowly looked up and saw Nanami crying. She was trying to hold back the tears, but they were falling from her eyes anyway. Rimi Sakihata shivered as she opened the glass door and came inside to what looked like a lobby I can lead. A freezing chill came up from the floor. There was no sign of anyone nearby. Given the location, that was only natural, but knowing what waited ahead, Rimi still wished there was at least one person there. In front of her was a soundproof door, like you'd see at a movie theater. There was a chill coming from the gap between it and the floor, and a white fog like dry ice. Rimi bit down hard on her lip. She was holding her D-sword in both hands. She already rebooted it.
だから大丈夫
I'll be fine.
だから
So,
怖がっちゃ
don't
ダ
be
メだ
scared. Rumi told herself this as forcefully as she could. As forcefully as she could. Then she took one last big breath before pushing open the door with her shoulder. Her eyes went wide Her eyes went wide when she saw what was inside. It was a device, impossibly huge and monstrous. The room was dome-like, with the device at its center. There was a faint, eerie sound that echoed throughout the huge space. It was low, like a beast roaring. The sound meant the device was running.
の圧
NoAH 2.
もう
It's
動いてる
already online.
君のおかげ
And
で
it's
す
all
よ。
thanks to you. A voice answered her. When she heard it, she felt terror in her very soul. Ew.
崎畑リミ
I knew he was gonna be pretty from
1年
just
半ぶ
seeing
り
the
です。
behind of him, but like, damn. Sorry, I'll be nice. Rimi Sakihata. It's been a year and a half, hasn't it? And that's how long as Taku's been alive. Rimi's instincts were screaming in terror. Her heart started to pound and her body began to shake. Terrible memories assaulted her mind. Her dark past was threatening to come back. She shook her head gently and gripped the D-sword to give herself strength. Then turned toward the direction of the voice. The huge device, NoAH 2, and next to it was a tall man in a suit, and...
ナナち ちゃん。
Oh. Nana. Nanami Nishijo was being held there. A torn uniform, a bloody bandage on her right hand, a limp, slumped head. She was terribly pale. Nanami was struck wordless at the sight. Nanami was struck wordless, or was it Rimi? Regardless. Like Jesus, nailed to the cross. No, it wasn't a cross that held her captive. It was a terrible, almost malicious shape. All the evil in the world. All the chaos in the world. Chaos. All the wickedness in the world. It was all these things and more.
君がこの1
I'm
年
not
半
remotely
ど
interested
こで
in where
何
you've
をして
been
いた
or
か
what
に
you've
つ
been
いて
doing
興
for the
味はあり
past
ま
year
せ
and
ん
a
が
half.
困ります
But you'll have to leave.
あま
I
り
can't
うろ
have
ち
you
ょろされ
wandered
る
around
と
the premises. Man, you could count his teeth. The man, Kenichi Norose, had a calm voice, but there was a knife-like edge to it. Yumi forced herself to stand tall and glare at him.
ナナちゃんを離して。
Let Nana go.
ほ
Oh,
うまさ
so
か
you've
ここに
come here
来
to
た
save
の
your
は
friend.
お友達を助けに来たというより
ナナちゃんを
Let Nana go.
離して。その子は
She has
何も
nothing to
関係
do
な
with
いでしょ。
this.
では
Why don't you
直
talk
接
to her
話してみては
yourself
どうです
then?
か
Yumi was caught off guard by Nanose's offer. She was trying her best to stand strong, but the second she'd seen his face, her legs had started to shake. She called out to Nanami without moving from where she stood.
ナナちゃん。
Nana! Nanami's head suddenly moved. Her closed eyes opened, just a little. She looked up. Her empty eyes stared at Rimi.
リミさん。
Rimi.
大丈夫。
Are you okay?
今
I'm here
助け
to
てあ
help
げる
you.
から。
In the middle of her sentence, Nanami's face began to twist in pain. Her face was pale and her breathing was ragged.
痛いよ。
It hurts.
右手が
My right hand hurts. And then, her body fell from the cross.
ナナちゃん。
Nana! Hey,
リミ
Mimi. Nanami was lying on the ground, only her head moving. It was as if she was looking for something.
ナナの
Do you know where my bangle is?
見つからなく
I
て
can't find it.
ナナのバングル
I can't find my bangle anywhere. She stood up, slowly, and began to search her surroundings with her left hand.
バングル
Bangle.
Bangle
Bangle,
だね。
right? Sure. I know exactly where it
私
is.
知ってるから
So come on.
だ
Let's
から
go.
私と
Let's
一緒
go
に
to
こ
the
こでよ
hospital, okay?
病院に行こ
My hand.
う
My
痛いよ
hand hurts.
ナナは
My.
なんで
Why
リミさんのこ
do
と
I know
知っ
you?
てるんだっけ
Did we
前
meet
に
somewhere?
どこで会ったんだっけリミさん
Mimi,
リミさん
was it
なの
you?
リミ
Did
さん
you
が
take my
No, no, no.
bangle?
バングル嘘
No.
どうし
How
て
could you?
ひどい
That's so mean. Yumi realized that something was wrong with Nanami and turned her eyes toward Narose. He smirked as he silently watched their conversation.
ナナちゃんに
What are you making her
何を見
see?
せてるの。
Gross. Nanami's gaze was locked on Rimi. She slowly staggered to her feet like a newborn fawn. She reached her right arm toward Rimi. The bandage was soaked with blood, and like her hand was still attached. But bright red drops, one after another, were falling from it. A pool of blood was forming at her feet. She needed medical treatment, fast. But despite her hurry, Rimi couldn't get any closer. Getting closer to Nanami meant getting closer to the man next to her. Rimi almost cried out of sheer frustration.
リミさんが持って
Did
た
you
の
take it?
ナナちゃん
Nana,
帰ろう。
let's go home,
こっち
okay?
に来て。
Come with me.
どうして持ってく
Why
の
are you stealing it?
返して
Give it back.
ナナのバングル
Give back my bangle.
落ち着いて。
Calm down, Hannah.
お兄から
Brother gave it to me.
ナナの
It's so important to me.
あれは
I don't want anybody else to have it.
返して。
Give it back.
返してよ。
Give it back.
ナナちゃん
Hannah. Give it back. A pain scream. A drop of blood fell from Nanami's wrist. The blood crystallized before it hit the ground. Something that looked like mineral ore appeared out of nowhere around it. Like some kind of inorganic shell had burst through a hole in space. The crystal and ore instantly fused into a single shape. It seemed far more like a cross than the thing which had been holding Nanami. Maybe. The sword, stabbing straight downward, protecting everything around it.
これは
A
ディ
D
ソード
sword.
返してよ。
Give it back. Please. Nanami held the sword to her chest, embracing it. Her tears of sorrow fell on it, and it began to flash crimson, like a beating heart.
でないと
Or else,
リミさんのこと
I'll make you pay.
許さない。そんな
No.
ナナちゃ
Nana
ん
was a Kiku maniac,
気ガロマニア
too.
ックスだったの。今日だけは
Just this once.
ナ
I
ナのわ
want
が
you
ま
to be there
ま
for
受け
me.
止めてよ。
Nanami was crying. She was trying to hold back her tears, but they fell from her eyes anyway. I gave her a single glance. Then I looked back up to the ceiling and returned to counting the rust spots.
抜かれたって
It doesn't matter if you cry.
僕には何
There's
も
nothing
で
I
き
can
な
do
いよ。
for you.
僕は
Maybe
妄想の存在なんだから。妄想の
delusion.
そんなこと言わない
Don't
で
say
よ。
that.
お兄が妄想のは
You
ずない
can't
じゃ
be
ん。
a delusion. I've known you since you were little.
小さい頃のお兄のこと知ってるもん。いつも
Sure.
ナナに世話かけ
Maybe
さ
you're a
せて
helpless dork,
ちっ
and I
とも
have to do everything
頼
for
りに
you.
ならないけど。でも
But
お兄は
you've
昔から
always
ずっ
been
と
with me. That's right. Nanami was right. I remembered Nanami from when she was little. I had my own memories of being young too. I remembered being in elementary school, not being able to go to the field trip, and how I'd watch the bus with my classmates on it and get into an accident. I even remembered Mr. Saito, my teacher who died. Who should I believe? Mimi, a girl I didn't even know? Or my little sister who I'd grown up with? Isn't the answer obvious? Numi was lying. Nanami was telling the truth. And if Nanami was real, then so was I.
ななみ
Nanami. I reached out a hand toward Nanami. Her existence was my only hope. She was the only one thing that could possibly save me.
助けて
Save me.
ななみ
Nanami. Save
助
me.
けて
Brother. If Nanami's warmth was real, I could prove that I was real, too. Nanami had been sobbing, but now she wiped away the tears. She turned her red-lidded eyes to me and gave me a sad smile.
抱きしめて。
You'll give me a hug? I nodded, again and again, again and again. But that would save Nanami, and then it would save me. I'd happily give my bratty little sister as many hugs as she wanted. After all, she was my only little sister in the whole wide world.
ななみ
Nanami,
助け
save
て
me. I wanted to feel her warmth as soon as I possibly could, so when she slowly hopped into my arms, wrapped my arms around her tightly, tightly, and tried to hold her.
お兄
Rather, just before I could. A pale light appeared around her body, which dissolved into a million glowing pieces of light. The lights burst like bubbles into the air, one after another. I outstretched my hand, touching nothing. There was no warmth at my chest. In front of my eyes, Nanami disappeared. Yeah, that's fair. Nanami Nishijo held the D-sword she created from her blood tight to her body, using only her left hand. Her right hand just hung alongside it. The blood dripping from the bandages running down the small groove in the blade before falling to the ground.
痛い。
It hurts.
知ってたの？
Did you know?
ナナちゃんが
Did you know Nana was a
Gigalomaniacs
Gigalomaniac? Yumi's question was directed at Narose, who'd been watching the events unfold silently. No matter how much hate was in her gaze, he seemed completely uninterested.
偶然の産物
It was pure
というもので
coincidence.
すよ。
ナナちゃんにひどいこと
After all
した
the
くせに
horrible things you did to her,
何が
how can you call it a coincidence?
君の時のような
It
苦
wasn't
労はしま
nearly
せんで
as
した。
difficult as it was with you.
我が社にはす
My
で
company
に
has a procedure
覚
for
醒さ
the
せるための
awakening
マニュアルが
process
確
now.
立していますから。もっとも
Sadly, the
西
procedure
条
failed
匠
to
に
work
だけ
on
はそのマニュアルも
Takumi
通
Nishijo.
用しませんが
Is a monster, and irregularity.
イレギュラーな化け物は
And thus
扱いづらいこ
difficult
と
to work
この上ない
with.
化け物だなんて
Don't call him a monster,
君も化け物だから
because you're a monster
ですか
too.
そういう話は
That's
して
not
な
what
い
I meant.
虚無から生まれ
A
たも
creature
のだか
born
ら
of the void, then.
と言い換えた
Perhaps
方が
that's
良
more
かっ
to
た
your
ですね。
liking. Yumi looked away, biting her lip in frustration. She was still shaking. She had to save Nanami, but her legs wouldn't move, like they were rooted to the floor. Narase, however, seemed completely unfazed. He gave Nanami's head a loving pat. Gross. Nanami didn't react. Her head was slumped, and she was taking one shallow breath after another.
闇の
Imagine a
ある一点
spotlight
だけを灯して
lighting
い
up
る
a
ス
single
ポッ
point
ト
in
ラ
a
イト。
great field of darkness.
その周囲には
Surrounding
無
the
数の
spotlight
死体
are
が転がっ
piles
てい
and
るので
piles
しょ
of
う
dead
が、
bodies,
誰にも
and
見
no
え
one
ない。
can see them. Not
君
even you
自身にも
yourself.
です。
そんな話
Stop it.
やめて
例えば君が
Let's
自
say you
殺を
killed
したら、
yourself. The
ス
spotlight
ポ
would
ット
move
ラ
a
イトは
few
数十
dozen
センチ
centimeters
横
to
に
the
ずれ
right,
て、
and you yourself
君を
would be
闇で
covered by
覆
the
ってくれるでしょ
darkness.
う。そして
And then,
何も知
someone
らない
else,
別の誰
someone
かが
completely ignorant,
代わりに
and
スポ
find
ット
themselves
ラ
in
イ
the
トを浴び
spotlight.
る。
Stop it! Narase shrugged and fell silent.
痛い
It hurts.
ナナちゃんを
I want
解
you
放
to
して
let
ほしい
Nana
んだけど
go.
拘束は解きまし
I
た。
already have.
連れて帰る
I'm taking her and going.
構いませんよ。
You're welcome to.
もう用
We're
済みで
finished with
す。
her.
ナナちゃん
Nana,
入ろう
let's go home.
そ
Okay?
の剣は消して
Make that sword disappear.
だったら
Then
番
give
組
me
返
back my
して
bangle.
返すから
I will. Ruby knew where Nanami's hand was being kept on that day. That night when Nanami's right hand had been delivered to Takumi's room. The night when Takumi had been humiliated on the roof of the O front. Rumi had taken the hand from his fridge. Shogun had it now. It was being kept cold so that it wouldn't rot. The bangle was there too.
お兄から
My brother gave it to me.
ナナのだよ
It belongs to me.
勝手に持ってい
How
って
could you steal it like
ひど
that?
いよ
Nanami's voice was getting more and more violent.
落ち着いて深呼吸
Calm
して
down and take a deep
自
breath.
分をしっかり持って
Get a hold of yourself.
一つ聞きます
Let me
が、
ask you a question. Norase suddenly interrupted them. In her mind, Rumi grimaced.
西条匠にとって
Which
は
of you two is more important to
君たち
Takumi
二人の
Nishijo?
うちどちらがより重要度が高い存在ですか？
Rumi looked down.
リミさんなんか
Rumi, you. Nanami looked up. Light had returned to her empty eyes. They were abnormally bright. Rumi quickly brought up her sword, but froze inside the sudden darkness. The lights had been cut. Whether it was an accident or deliberate, Rumi couldn't tell.
負けちゃダメ。
Don't let it beat you, Rumi whispered to herself. Her voice made the air vibrate, but quickly melted away inside the darkness. She realized she couldn't hear that awful rumbling coming from the NoAH 2 anymore either. She didn't like the dark. It brought back memories. Rumi looked around her. There was darkness everywhere. Not a trace of light was to be found. Could she not see because it was dark? Or could she not see because her vision wasn't working? She could tell which way was up and which was down. She didn't even know where she was. The darkness worked its way inside all her senses. She couldn't even sense her own body anymore. It was like her body had transformed into a gas. Like her mind was leaking from its vessel. Past and present melted together, and Rumi's memories began to mix with one another. When was it now? When was the past? A single ray of light shone down on the perfect darkness, into the perfect darkness. And in the center of the circular spotlight, she saw herself, crouching on the ground with her arms wrapped around her knees. Rumi stared at herself from within the darkness. It was just like back then. Back then. Rumi had nothing. She woke up one day to find herself locked up, tortured. The psychological pain was worse than the physical pain. Every day was hell, and every day, all she could do was endure. Rumi didn't know where she'd been before that. When had she been imprisoned here? How? How long had they been torturing her? Rumi didn't know. Somehow, it didn't feel like amnesia to her. It felt like she'd only begun to exist the moment she woken up here. Maybe the personality which had inhabited this body before had killed itself within a delusion to escape from the pain. Maybe the current Rumi was born to take its place. Maybe there had been many different personalities before her. Maybe the name Rimi Sakihata was one that changed with each new personality. And there's no true me inside me. Something moved within the darkness. Rumi stood up and slowly approached it. When she moved, the spotlight went with her. And then she saw what it was. It was Rumi, lying on the ground, dead. Rumi whispered, taking care not to look at Rumi as she spoke.
あなたは
What number
何
are
番
you?
目？私は
I'm... Well then. Rumi's eyes began to twitch violently. Tears flowed from the corners of her eyes. Pink-haired, super-powered girl who was tortured by a secret agency, possible Elfenlied reference. I don't remember when Elfenlied came out. They might have come out in very similar time frames, so I'm not sure how likely that would be. But I will find out. With the power of technology. ...2004. July 25th, 2004. Which is funny because that's Carisi's birthday. But, yeah, it's possible that Elfenlied might have inspired Rimi then. Who knows? Carrying on. The D-sword slipped from her hand. She dropped to her knees where she stood. Like a child, she covered her face with her hands, shaking her head weakly. I'm sorry. I couldn't take it. Nanami watched expressionlessly, and Rossi gave a small, bored snort. There was nothing left of Nanami. She disappeared right in front of me. She had not even been real. Nanami. Where are you? Come out. I know you're there. This is another break, right?
隠れくれ
You're
てるん
hiding,
だ
right?
や
Stop
や
it.
めろよ
hmm The tears made it hard for me to see. I wiped them away, but they just kept coming. Little drops of water. But even their heat, and even the emotions that were making me weep, were delusions. Because I myself was a delusion. Donami was a delusion too. I was an idiot to get my hopes up. They've been mercilessly dashed. Hey,
いつ
when are you going
こ
to
の
wake
妄想
up
って
from this
冷めるの
delusion? Come on,
早
wake
く
up.
冷めてよ
I didn't even know who I was talking to, but I wanted anyone to hear me.
この
When this
妄想
delusion
が冷
ends,
めたら
I'm gonna find out I'm
僕は
actually
ほんとはイケ
really
メン
handsome.
なんだ
I know it. I'm
そう
gonna
に
have a
決まってる
nice little sister
物
and
分
a
かりのい
kind older
い妹と
sister.
優しい姉がいるんだかわ
And
いい彼
a
女と
cute
付き合って
girlfriend.
てその子が
And she won't be a crazy lunatic like Rini or Senna. And she'll be a good girl.
みたいな
But
いい
like
子なんだ
Seiran-san.
あなたは
You are
妄想
a
の存在なんだ
delusion.
よ。
I fell to the ground, burying my head in a pile of garbage, and clutched Seiran tightly. I slammed my fist into the floor, trying as hard as I could to avert my eyes from reality, but I couldn't. Mimi's words kept echoing in my head, again and again. I
死に
want
た
to
い
die.
死に
I
たい
want
よ
to die.
どうして
Why
誰も
won't anybody kill me?
僕を殺してくれないんだ
I mean, it's kind of hard to kill something that doesn't exist. I will throw that out there, Takumi.
ねえ
Come on,
た
Seiran.
殺して
Kill me.
僕を
Kill
殺
me.
して
そんなに死に
Do
たい
you want to die that badly?
死にた
I
い
want to die.
こんなの
I can't
も
take it
う嫌
anymore.
だ
I
自
hate
分の
myself so
存在
much.
が嫌
I
だ
don't want to think about anything.
何も考
I don't
え
want
た
to
くな
live
い
anymore.
生きていたくない
かわいそうなタッキー。
Poor Taki.
だったら
I'll tell you about a way you can die
すぐに殺される方法を
real
教えてあげる。
fast. Oh, thank you, my wife. Seiran was always there to help me.
とりあえず外
You
に
can
出る
start
さ
by going outside. Uh-huh. Touch some grass, is that the next step?
外に
Outside. I stood up as I was told. I almost tripped over the garbage on the floor several times, but I managed to make it outside. I didn't have the slightest doubt about what I was being told. Seiran was the one person who would never betray me. She was my wife. She wasn't 3D. When I got outside, I heard a strange sound. It felt like I'd heard it somewhere before.
この音を追いかけて。
Follow the sound. What's gonna go wrong?
追いかけたら
If I
殺してもらえるの
Will they kill me?
そういうこと。
Yep.
や
I
優し
wonder
く
if
殺
they'll
して
kill
も
me
らえるか
gently.
な
私が保証す
I
るよ。
guarantee it.
よかった
Good.
やっと
I could finally
死ねる
die. The sound was my savior. It was a bell of salvation, leading me to a land of peace. I followed the sound, with Seiran still in my hand. It kept getting closer, and then farther away, as if it was leading me somewhere. 'Cause it is. Whenever I got close to it, it would suddenly get further away. Whenever I felt like I would lose it, it suddenly got closer and wait for me. As if it had a will of its own. A sound with a will of its own. It reminded me of Shogun. For a moment, I saw his face. Then I stopped caring. It didn't matter if it was him behind this or not. If someone wanted to kill me, I'd happily let them. I stopped even trying to figure out what the source of the sound might be. I was going to die soon anyway. Once I didn't exist, there was no point in thinking about it. I let my mind become blank and staggered toward the source of the sound, almost unconsciously, like a moth to a flame. The area around me started to get more and more noisy. I stopped being able to hear the sound. I grimaced and tried to find the source of all the noise. Then I froze. At some point, I arrived in the middle of a scrambled crossing. The noise was from the huge crowds gathering in the square. It was so cramped that I could barely move. Everyone was pushed up against each other, like on the train during rush hour. There were even more people here than there had been when I was... There were even more people here than there had been when I'd been up at the top of O-Front. I remembered Grim saying something about this. Something about a big event in Scramble Crossing tonight. Sarah, what's going on here? I only have bad memories of this place. Why had she brought me here? Oh boy.
リベンジってこと。
This is your second shot. Where's the person who's going to kill me?
目の前にいるっしょ。
Right in front of you. Duh.
目の
Right
前
in front of me. The crowd was gigantic. It was a cold autumn night. Why would all these people be packed so tightly here in the square? Everybody was looking at me. I thought they were all going to laugh and humiliate me like they did before. I tensed up. The trauma from last time made me freeze. And somebody bumped into me from behind. It was more like a slam, actually. Caught off guard, I staggered forward and just barely kept myself from falling. I turned around to see what looked like a salaryman in his 20s. It was somebody I'd never seen. No, wow. So this is what it feels like. He was staring down at his own hands and whispering something I didn't understand. I thought it was just somebody's idea of a prank before I felt the sudden heat around my waist. I felt something strange there, like something was hanging off on it. It started to ache. Then came the pain, the burning pain. I went and looked down on my waist. I saw what looked like a hilt of a knife sticking out of it. No, it wasn't just sticking out. I'd been stabbed. The pain got worse. I noticed that my pants were wet. I was shocked to see that they were wet with my own blood.
次私ね。
My turn next! Huh? A girl, a fashionable-looking girl who seemed to be in college, came up to me from the front with a kitchen knife in her hand. I didn't even have time to dodge her. The girl's knife stabbed deep into my stomach. Yeah, this is such a gentle death. Thanks, Eraton. Oh, wow. I really stabbed him. She ran off, excited. Next thing I knew, I was surrounded. Students, businessmen, young men, middle-aged women. And they all had knives in their hands as they grinned at me. And the 4 big TVs in the square all had the same caption on them. The Let's Stop Talk Community Show, the fake psychic party, is going on now. A line of people waiting their turn formed in front of me. Everyone was standing in a neat row, waiting for their turn to stab me. Yeah. Next it was a fat, dark-skinned high school girl. She stabbed a knife into my side. I was too stunned to think, too stunned to even feel pain. All I could do was stand there. God, I got blood on my hands. Man, this sucks. A balding salaryman in his 50s pushed her out of the way, knife in hand. Time to work off some stress, oh yeah! He stabbed me, pulled out the knife, and stabbed me again. This is great. There's a knife in my back and 3 in my stomach. I look like an idiot with these knives hanging out of me. But it wasn't over yet. The line of people waiting to stab me was only growing longer. They were all waiting with bloodshot eyes for a chance to kill me. The pain reached my limits. I almost fell over. And the first member of the crowd to stab me grabbed me from behind. Everybody's waiting for their turn. Don't go down on us now. He spoke. Then I felt more pain on my back. A cold, hard blade pierced my skin and flesh. Stop, I tried to say. But then I forced myself to fall silent. In a sense. Wasn't this what I wanted? I wanted them to kill me, right? They were just giving me what I wanted, right? Couldn't tell them to stop. With a man behind me holding me, I couldn't even fall over. They stabbed me. In the chest. In the stomach. In the back. In the arms. In the thighs. And under my nails. Oh, damn. At some point, I had started screaming. I wanted to die, so I decided not to scream. But the pain was too much. How many blades were stuck inside my body now? I'd long lost count. The pain was too much for me to even move, but my senses of mind weren't dulling at all. If anything, they were becoming clearer and clearer. How many times were they going to stab me? I wanted to die already. Why wasn't I dying when it hurt so much? Aww, you know the answer. I heard Sato's voice in my head. Because this is a delusion. I sighed and opened my eyes. The pain and the sensation of having something stuck in my body was gone. Instead of a line of people in front of me, the crowd had parted to form a passage for me to go through. A single road beckoning me forward. I found myself hoping that my delusion a moment ago would become reality. With the condition that I could die after being stabbed, say, 3 times, though. Couldn't handle the torture. I started to walk down the path the crowd had formed, head still blurry. The media seemed on edge, just like the rest of the crowd. There was a lot of noise, but nobody seemed to be having fun. There was none of the joy and excitement that they showed when I would embarrass myself out of front. They were all looking at me. Their eyes were cold and sharp. There was something akin to murder in their gaze. My hopes grew even higher. Kill me. Kill me. Kill me. I looked up to see all 4 of the big TVs in the crossing were showing me walking through the crowd. It was being broadcast all around Japan too, I was sure. If 40% of the country was watching it, that meant 48 million people would be there to watch me die. I'm not even real, and you want to watch me die? I'm totally worthless, and you want to watch me die? You really want to watch me die? We're a bunch of idiots. But that's fine with me. Watch all you want, as long as you kill me. I stood in front of the line of cameras and microphones. All the flashes on the camera went off at once. Dazzling lights flashed and disappeared. I squinted in the brightness. An older male reporter I recognized from television was first to speak. Nishijo, what kind of performance do you have for us today? Also, they're saying that the suspect arrested in the crucified killing was only following orders given to him by someone else. What are your thoughts on this? Why was this guy being friendly? And what did he mean? What are my thoughts on this? What was that supposed to mean? Why was he asking me my opinion? To be fair, whenever they asked a famous criminologist on TV for his opinion, he would always say the same boring things. It wouldn't be too hard to do a better job than that. And I didn't care. I stopped caring about New Gen entirely. I'd come here to have somebody kill me, not to answer questions from reporters. I didn't even have the strength left to do it if I wanted to. So Nishijo, let me ask you this.
真犯人と目され
They're
る人
calling the
物
real
は
killer,
通
whose
称
eyes are
その目
those.
誰の目と言われていて、それは
And
君
they're
なんじゃ
saying
な
that
い
you're
か
the
ってい
only
う噂
person
があ
that
るんだよ
could
ね。
possibly be.
そうかもね。
Maybe. My oyster was picked up by the microphones and sent all throughout Shibuya by the big TVs. A murmur arose from the crowd. They were starting to become even more murderous. I don't care. Just kill me. I want to be free. Don't make me put up with this bullshit. But the microphones got even closer. They were pushing up right up against my mouth. Like a bursting doom. Other reporters began to shower me with questions. Can we take that as an admission of your involvement? Have you ever found yourself unable to tell the difference between reality and a video game? Tell us about the relationship between you and the suspect, Komaeda. Did you think it was a video game when you killed those people? Maybe I am like a video game character in a sense. Somebody reset me. Let me get a game over. Just kill me. And when I saw that, the tension in the crowd around me reached its peak and burst. Die! You're inhuman. You're a monster. I'll kill you. Go to hell. Give him the death penalty. Kill him right here. Murderer. A wave of people crashed towards me. I was caught up in its swell. Screams and shouts all around me. I was smashed between the press of people. I felt myself picked up off the ground, pressed by bodies from all directions, as my feet left the ground. I struggled, but helplessly. They struck me in the head, hit me in the arm. But it wasn't enough pain to kill me. Even when I thought they would strangle me, I still didn't resist. I let the chaos have its way with me, and suddenly, the pressure disappeared. I fell to the ground. Sayatan slipped from my hand. She rolled along the asphalt. People's legs were all around me, like trees in a forest. My wife was rolling between them. I reached my hand out desperately, but I couldn't grab her. Her dazzling smile, the smile that had kept me going, was crushed by someone's leather shoes. Taki! It hurts! Help me! Taki! And someone kicked her tiny body and sent her flying. A woman's red heel came down on her torso, crushing it. Taki! Wa!
Sarah.
Sarah. I called out, but there was no answer. My one ally was gone. The sorrow threatened to crush me, but I had no reason to stay alive at all. Oh, now I had no reason to stay alive at all, rather. I looked up and saw the walls of people had even blocked out the night sky. Nobody noticed I was crouching here. I was right here, and nobody saw. I was begging them to kill me, and nobody heard. Why was everyone ignoring me? Suddenly, I felt it on my neck. The prickling. The gaze of God.
君は
You. It was in my head.
ここで死んじゃダメだ。
Cannot die here. The voice echoed. I gasped.
理想度を手に
Get
入
the
れて。
D-sword. I clenched my jaw hard.
将軍
Shogun! I looked for his wheelchair amid the forest of legs. I looked for some asshole in a Darth Spider cosplay. So, this whole thing was your doing, wasn't it? I should have known. Are you gonna show up in that stupid cosplay again and threaten me? Are you trying to make me do the same thing you tried to make me do before? All I want is death. I don't want to be a living freak show anymore.
あの時の自称将軍
The
は
Shogun you saw
僕じゃない。
wasn't me.
僕はコス
I
プレ
don't
はしないよ。
cosplay. I don't care, just kill me already.
あいつらが動き出して
And
い
they
る。
put their plan into motion.
この場は
Things are
今以
about
上
to
の
get
混乱
even
にな
worse
るよ。
here. They?
すべての黒
The
幕。
ones behind all of this.
この混乱を
The
引き
ones
起こ
who
し
are
た
the
者た
cause
ち。
of all of this chaos.
混乱を利
The
用
ones
し
who are
て
trying to
利
use
己を
this
追
chaos
求
for
しよ
their
うと
own
する者
ends.
たち。彼らを止められるの
And
は
only one person could
君
stop
だけ
them.
なんだ。
You. I sat up. The yelling and screaming was still going on above me. Nobody was looking at me at all. The crowd and the media were all jumbled up now. They were grabbing each other, swearing at each other, hitting each other. What had gotten into them?
沈黙の兵器
And silent weapons.
ノア2はすでに稼
NoAH
働して
2
る
is already online.
この混乱が起とされた
And the
一番
biggest
の
goal
目
of
的
all
は
of this chaos
無差別人
was
体
to
実
perform a
験
large-scale, indiscriminate human experiment. Something hard hit my head. It hurt badly. It hurt badly enough that I thought my skull had been busted open. I put my hands to my head and pressed hard to dull the pain. I looked around with tear-stained eyes to find a fist-sized rock nearby. There was a little blood. Blah, blah, blah. There was a little bit of blood on it. Someone must have thrown it and hit me. It was an awful aching pain. When I put my hand on the wound, I felt something wet and slick. My fingertips were stained with blood. My blood. I heard a loud pop sound in the distance, then a woman's scream. A gunshot? Was there someone here with a gun? Why was everyone so excited? Why is everyone so eager to fight somebody they'd never met? Why was everyone acting so bizarrely? Weren't they all waiting for me to be the bad guy? The sacrifice?
渋谷の GE レート
Shibuya's GE rate.
バイオリズム
Its
が
biorhythms
ありえない
have
くらい
risen
に
to
上
an
昇してるんだ
impossible
よ
level.
言ったでしょ
Like I just said,
無差
a
別
large
人
scale,
体実験だ
indiscriminate human experiment.
この場にいる人たちは今
Everyone here is being
見えな
subjected
い
to
攻
an
撃を受け
invisible
ているんだ
attack. I heard that sound. The creaking sound. The rusty sound. Like the last gasp of a dying woman. The sound of a wheelchair's wheels. So many people were crammed into the square. Walls of people. Waves of people, foiling and undulating. But as Shogun wheeled forward, no one collided with him. No one tried to stop him. He came right toward me. His body was so small, so frail and thin. He was covered in wrinkles. It looked like his bones might break at the slightest touch. His eyes were cloudy. I couldn't tell what he was looking at, what he was seeing. I couldn't take my eyes off him. The noise through the crowd around me suddenly became distant.
ずっと
I've been
君
watching
を見て
you,
いたよ
always. It was the same voice I heard when we first met. It wasn't the strange voice I heard at O Front.
君は
Who
誰な
are
の
you?
僕は
I'm you.
君だよ
With those two words, I understood.
僕を妄
You're the
想
one
し
who
て
created me
生み出した
with
の
your
も
delusion.
神の自然
And
の
you're the
正
case
体
of
も
God.
君だったん
It
だね
was all you. Yes. This man was my creator. The person whose delusion had created me. And someone I would never, ever be able to defeat.
君の名前は
What's your name?
西条
Takumi.
Takumi.
Nishijo. The real me. The original.
君は
How old are
いくつなの？
you?
君と同い年だよ
The same age as you. Or
君
at
の
least. As you're
設定
supposed
と
to
ね。
be. 17 years old. And you're so small and wrinkled.
このままだと
And the world's
世界
about
は
to
死ん
die.
じゃうノア2に
NoAH 2 will
あらゆる
control
人
the
の
hearts
心
of
は支配
men
されちゃう
everywhere.
だから
And that's why I
君に
entrusted
託
this
した
to
んだ
you. Entrusted what to me?
意味がわかんない
I
よ
don't understand.
そんなの
This has nothing to do with me.
僕には関係ない頼むよ
Please.
僕を
Just
消
erase
し
me.
て今
Erase
す
me
ぐに
right now.
消してほしい
The wrinkles on Shogun's face moved. It looked like he was trying to change his expression, but I couldn't tell what it was supposed to be.
全部僕のせいなんだ
It's all my fault.
僕が
I curated a
IR2 を妄想し
delusion
ちゃっ
of
たせいで
IR2.
なんとか止めようと
I
したけ
tried
ど
to stop them,
僕
but
は
with
こん
my
な
body
体
like
だから
this, I
満
can't
足
even
に動くこ
move.
ともできないそれで
And that's why I
君を生
created
み出
you,
した君に
so that you could
止め
stop
ても
them
らう
for
ため
me.
に
そんなの知らない
Care. I'm a copy of
僕は
you.
君のコピーだけど、
I don't want to do it.
僕はやりたくない。コピーだけが
It's not
苦し
fair
まな
that the
くちゃい
copy
け
has
な
to
い
be
なんて、
the
そ
only
ん
one
な
to
の嫌
suffer.
だ。死なせて
Please,
よ。
just let me die.
君はコピーじゃない。
You're not a copy.
もう一
You're
人の僕
another
だ。
me.
つまりコピ
How's
ーじゃ
that
ない
different
か。
from a copy?
君のしてること
What
は
you're
すご
doing
く
is so
残酷
cruel.
だ。
悪かったって
I am
思っ
sorry.
てるよ。でも
But
他に
there
方
was
法
no
は
other
なかっ
way.
た。今世界の
And
命
it's no
運は
exaggeration to say
君
that
に
the
かかっ
fate
て
of
い
the
ると言
whole
っても
world
過言
rests
じゃ
on
な
your
いんだ。
shoulders.
だから
So
そんなの、
just
そんなのリミに
just
頼
ask
めばい
Remy
いじゃないか。
instead.
知り合いなん
You
でし
know
ょ。
her, right? Know her. I said those words deliberately. She might have been his girlfriend or his friend. I didn't want to think about either possibility. And then I realized how I felt, even though it was far too late. I was jealous of my original, even though it was just his copy. It was so ugly, so disgusting. What right did I have to be jealous? My feelings made me want to throw up. I felt even more depressed. I just wanted to die.
リミは
Yumi went to
ナナミ
save
を助け
Nanami
に行って
and was
逆
captured
に捕まっ
herself.
ちゃったんだ。
え、
No,
リミはね、
Yumi was trying
僕
to
を
save
救おう
me,
としてくれて
you
いた。
see.
その理由は
And as for the reason,
君も知っているよ
you
ね。
know, right?
あれは
Is that
空。
the sky?
あの空は
Why is that sky
どうして
so blue?
あんなに泣きたくな
Look,
る
it
くらい
makes you want to
青
cry.
いのかな。
それを望んだから。
Because it was desired.
私は
I didn't
望んでない。
wish for it.
僕が望んだんだ。
And I did.
ここは君の
This is your
心象
mental
世界で
world,
あると同
but
時
it's
に
also mine.
僕の心象世界でもあるから。
Yumi turned to look at me. She seemed confused.
あなた
Who are you? There shouldn't be
ここに
anyone
は
here but
私以
me.
外はいないはずなのに。あなたは
Are you
別の
another me?
私。
違うよ。
No.
だったら
Then
誰？
who are you?
どうやっ
How'd you
てここに来た
get
の？私の心の中で
This is my mind.
ずっと
There's only darkness here for such a long time. Only light was spotlight that fell on me.
私に当たるスポットライトだけ。それなのに
But the minute you came,
あな
the
たが来た
darkness
途端に
vanished and the
暗
sky
闇がな
appeared.
くなって空ができた。
妄想がシンクロした
Our
んだ。
delusions synchronized.
君の
Your
力
power
が
is very strong.
とても強かったから。
そう
I see. Remy looked back up at the sky. An azure sky so clear. It looked like you could see forever.
私
I've never seen the real
本
sky.
物の空見たことないんだ。私っていう
When this
人格が
personality
生ま
was
れた
born,
時にはね、
I was locked up in a dark
も
room.
う暗い部屋に閉じ込められてた。心の中も
There was nothing but darkness,
外も
both inside and outside my
闇し
heart.
かなかった。そこからは
They'll never let me out.
絶対に出してもらえないの。私
I was trying to die.
死のうとしてたんだ。心を
To make my heart commit
自殺
suicide.
させるの。きっと
I'm sure all the
これまでの
personalities
私
that
も
came before me did
そ
the
うして
same
きたと
thing.
思うし。でも
But since you brought
せっ
me
か
that
くあなた
sky,
が空を持ってきてくれたから、この光景を
is it okay if I
記
remember
憶
it
に刻んでおいて
so the next
いいかな。
me can imagine it?
次の私がまたこうして想像できるように。
死にたいの？
Do you want to die? Yeah.
本当の空を
You don't want to
見
see
て
the
みた
real
いとは
sky?
思わないの？
ねえ、
Hey,
空って
is the sky real?
本当にあるのかな？
あるよ。
It is.
でも現実の空は
But the real sky is
この
dirtier
空
than
より
this
も
one.
汚れてる。
どこにある？
Where is it?
あの空は
And where can I find that
どこ
sky?
にあるの？
君が望めば
Anywhere if you
ど
desire
こに
it.
でも。
望んで
Is it okay
いいの？
for me to want it?
もちろんだよ。
Of course.
どうやって？
How do I
望むの？
do it?
光は電磁場の波。
Light is an
その
electromagnetic
振動
wave.
現象を
The
人
human
の
eye
視
sees
覚
its
は
vibrations as
色として
color.
捉えるんだ。自分のデッドスポット
Try
に
feeding
望
the
む色を
color
当
you
ては
want
め
to
てごら
see
ん。
into your own dead
そう
spots,
す
and
れば
then
君の望む世界
you
の
can
色を
make the world any color you
作り出せ
desire.
る。世界は
The world will answer
君
your
の望みに
wishes.
応えてくれるよ。
Days, or perhaps months, passed after that meeting. Mimi came to my hospital room. She and I were both staying in the same hospital. And we both had the same maniac power. Though, whether we should be proud of it or hate it, I didn't know.
お兄、お客さんだ
Brother,
よ。
you got a quest.
ねえねえ、誰？
Hey, who is
彼
it?
女さん。
Your girlfriend?
いつの
When did you get a girlfriend?
やるね。お兄
Nice
ってば。
going, brother.
また
We meet
会え
again,
たね。
huh? She looked so tired. Her skin was sickly pale. Her hair was a mess, and far too long. Her nails were cracked. And she kept squinting, like she wasn't used to bright light.
本物の空は
Did you get
見られた？
to see the real sky?
うん。
Yeah.
あ、そうだ。
Oh, right. Nanami had been watching us carefully. Suddenly she clapped her hands together like she remembered something.
ナナ、お洗濯してこな
I
く
have
ち
to
ゃ。
go do the laundry.
リミさんでし
Rimi,
たっけ？
is it?
どうぞご
You
ゆ
two
っくり。
kids have fun. Nanami left. Rimi and I watched her go, neither with much emotion. Rimi turned back to me.
匠は
How long
いつか
have
ら
you
入
been
院
in
し
the
てるの？
hospital, Takumi?
5年
5
ぐらい。
years, or so.
退院の予定は？
When are you supposed to leave?
ないよ。
I'm not.
僕の
I'm
余
only
命
going
は
to live
あと
another 2
2年
years
ぐら
or
いだと
so,
思うし。
I think.
私は
I was able to
あな
try
たのおかげで
because of you.
頑張ることができた。終わりなんて
I thought
絶対
that
に
there'd
ないと
be
思ってた。
to them. I thought that there'd never be an end. But
あなた
I
が教
decided
え
to
てくれ
try
た空
until
を
I
見る
saw
ま
the
で
sky you taught me
頑張ろう
about.
と思った。そしたら
And then suddenly
急に
they let me go.
外に
It's
出して
probably
もら
better
えた。
to say they were just done
用
with
済み
me,
にな
to
っ
be
たって言っ
honest.
た方が正しいかもしれないけど、
そう。
You see,
私は
you saved me.
あなたに救われたの。だから
So now
今度は
I
私
want to
が
help you.
あなたの力になりたい。
そんなの
You don't
気に
need
し
to
なくていい
worry about that.
わざわざ僕に会い
You
に来
don't
なくて
even
もいい
need
よ。
to come to see me.
君には
I want you
これ
to
か
go
ら普
live
通
a
に
normal
生きて
life.
ほしい。
普通の生き方なん
You
て
don't even know what a normal life is.
わからないから。
Yumi's past. Yumi's feelings. Yumi's resolve. I remember them all. It made my chest tighten up in pain.
なんで
Why did Rimi?
リミは僕に近づいてきたの？
彼女は君の近く
She
にい
was
る
trying
こ
to
とで
stay by your side,
君の
to
行動、
watch over you and the
君に
people
接触し
around
てくる
you,
人間のことを
and make
監
sure
視
you
して
didn't awaken.
君を覚醒させないようにしていたんだ。彼女を恨まないであげ
Please
て。
don't hate her.
彼女は
She's
た
just
だ
nosy, that's all.
おせっかいなだけなんだ。
There's a sad echo in Shogun's voice.
巻き込みたくなかったのに。
I didn't want to get her involved,
彼女は僕が
but
ど
no
れ
matter
だけ
how I
止めて
tried
も
to stop her,
聞いて
she
くれな
wouldn't
かった。
listen.
勝手に
She felt like she
僕に
had some
恩義なんか
obligation
感じて
to me,
本当におせっかい
when
だよ。
really, she didn't.
リミとナナミは
Who's holding Rini
誰
and
に捕まってる
Nanami?
の？
プロジェクトノアの
The
責任
man
者、
behind Project NoAH
すべての黒
and
幕、
all of this.
ノロセ
Genichi
健一、
Norose
かつてリミを捕らえ
is
て、
also the man who once
拷問し
kidnapped
てい
and
た男
tortured
でもある。
Rini,
それなのにリミは、
but she went to
ナナミ
face
と
him
僕と、
anyway, alone,
そして君を
to
助
save
ける
you,
ために、
me, and
あの男の
Nanami.
ところへたった一人で乗り込んでいっちゃった。
My voice came back into my head. It was Rimi speaking, but she was saying things I never heard her say. They were words Shogun had heard.
リミ？
Rimi?
あ、
Yeah,
うん。
it's
私
me.
実は
I have
ちょっと
something
した
to
報
tell
告があ
you,
ります
actually.
ナナちゃんを
I'm thinking of
こ
going
れ
to
から
save
助けに
Nana.
行こうと思って。
やめるんだ。
Don't.
君はあの男、
You never want to see that
ノ
man,
ロセとはもう
Norose,
会いたく
again,
ないでしょ。
right?
私
I
って
guess you don't
信用
trust
され
me,
てない
huh?
な。
He'll
平
be
気だって
fine.
ば。昔の話だ
It was
し
a
ね。
long time ago anyway.
そもそも
And
私
between my
の感
feelings
情
and
と
saving
ナナ
Nana,
ちゃんを
it's
助ける
obvious
こと
which
と
one is more
どっちを優
important.
先させるかなんて決まりきってることだよ。
ナナミを助けるのも、
Saving Nanami and
Project
dropping
Noah
Project
を止めるのも
Noah are my and
僕
stopping
のやる
Project
べき
Noah
こ
are
と
my
だ。
jobs,
君は
not yours.
そこまでしなくていいんだよ。
言ったでしょ。
I told you.
私
I want to
は
help you.
あなたの力になりたいって。それに
And
タクには
I don't want to get Taku
関わら
involved.
せたくないの。
おせっかい。
You really are nosy. Yeah,
そうかもね。
maybe. You're the
あな
only
たに
one to
言
ever
われ
tell
た
me
ことは
that,
ないけ
though.
ど。ねえ、
Hey,
ちょっと
can
だ
I
け
tell you something?
語っちゃっていいかな。タクにね、
I said a lot of really mean things to
いろいろ
Taku.
ひどいこと言っちゃったんだ。しかも、
And the
そ
worst
んな
part
こと
is,
しておいて、
and I know
す
this
ご
is
く自分
really
勝手なん
selfish,
だけど、
but
私、
I had a lot of fun when I was
彼と
around
一緒に
him.
過ごした時間は、とっても楽しかったって思っちゃってるんだ。何もかもが、
I mean,
も
it
う
was
それ
just
まみれ
lies
た
held together
まや
with
かしでしかなかったのに。
delusions.
学生生活も、
My life at school,
あの学校に
the fact that
私や
Taku and
タ
I
ク
were
が通っているこ
students
とも、
there,
大地と友
and the
達だっ
fact
て
that
いうこと
Daichin
も、
was my friend,
私がタクと
even
一
me
緒にい
trying
よ
to
うとし
stay
たこ
by
とも、
his side,
タクの存在そ
and
の
even
もの
Taku
も、
himself.
タクってどう
Taku's
しようもない
such
くら
a
い情け
wimp.
なくて、
He's so weak and helpless.
どうしようも
No
ないくら
normal
い
girl would
弱
ever
くて、
even notice him.
きっとなのに、
For
私
some
の
reason,
心には
my heart's telling me I
楽
had
しかっ
fun.
たっていう気持ちがあるの。なのに、
For some reason,
私の心
my
には
heart's telling me that I wish I
もっ
could
と
have
一緒
spent
にい
more
たかっ
time
たっ
with
ていう
him.
気持ちがあるの。この気持ちって
What do you think this feeling is?
何なのかな。
インプリンティングのようなもの
Maybe some kind of
かもしれ
imprinting.
ないね。
本能っていうことか
Instincts,
な。
you mean? That might be
それって
kind of romantic,
意外と
in a
ロマ
way.
ンチックかも。
君が楽しかったなら、
If you had fun,
きっと
I'm sure he did too.
彼も楽しかったと思うよ。
そうだと
I hope
いい
so.
な。私は
I'm kind of
タ
like
クと
him.
似た
in a
ような
way.
ものだから。肉体が妄
It's
想から
somebody
作
with
ら
a
れた
body
存
made
在
from
と、
delusions.
人格が妄想
And
から作
somebody
ら
with
れ
a
た存
personality
在と、
made from delusions.
どっちも変わらな
They're
いで
not
しょ。
that different, are they?
だから
And that's why
タクのこと
I didn't want to erase
消した
Taku.
くなかった。消さなくちゃダメだって
I thought that I
思
had
って
to
たんだ
though,
けどね。でも
but at some point,
いつの間にか
I guess I started to feel sympathy for him.
タクには
I want him
ご
to
く
live
普
a
通に
perfectly
暮らしてい
ordinary
ってもらい
life.
たいの。私は
I want to save both of
タクミ
you,
も
Takumi
タク
and
も
Taku.
助けたい。ね
Please,
え、
just
タクの
leave
ことは
Taku alone.
そっとしておいてあげて。
そういうわけにはい
I
かない。
can't.
ノア
I
2
need
を破
him
壊
to
するために
destroy Noah too.
彼は必要だよ。
私が何と
I'll
かする
fix
か
this
ら。
somehow.
君はそんなことしなくてい
You
い。
don't have to.
君こそ
If anybody should try to lead a perfectly ordinary life, it's you.
さてと、
Okay.
そ
I'm
ろそ
going
ろ
to
切
hang
る
up.
ね。
リミやめて。
Mimi, don't.
本当に大
Really?
丈夫だっ
It's
て。
fine.
あなた
You
は
don't
何
need
も
to
心
worry
配しない
about
で。
a thing. I'm
私
going
が
to
全
put
部
an end to
決
this.
着をつけてくるから。
Okay?
たくみ。
Takumi. No, we're past the point when I could possibly matter. The warmth of Remy's words filled my heart. She really was nosy. What could drive her to do all this? What could drive her to do so much for so much for another person?
私は
I'm on your
タクの
side.
味方だから。
My memories with Remy came flooding back. We hadn't spent long together at all, and there were feelings hidden behind each word she spoke.
私が
I'll be there for
一緒
you.
にいてあげる。
For this past year and a half, I hadn't done much but play ESO and H games, along with some real money trading. I spent all day on them, barely ever leaving the base. I almost never went to school. I never tried to talk to anybody. I was alive, but I lived my life like I was dead. This past month or so had been totally different. Even if in the end she'd been lying to me.
朝、一緒に学
I'll
校
go
行って
to school with you. She'd been there for me.
学校では
On break, we could talk about whatever. When I've been afraid, she made me feel better.
お昼休みは
At lunch,
一緒にご飯食べ
we
て
can eat together. She'd always been there to support a loser like me. She'd been there to make me feel better.
夕方一緒
At
に
the
帰
end
っ
of
て
the evening, we can go home together. She'd given me a hug and held me in her arms.
帰るついでにたま
Sometimes,
にどこか
we
の
might
店に寄
stop
ったり
someplace
して
on the way back. It was a delusion, but she taught me about human warmth.
タクの部屋で
Or maybe,
ちょっとだけ
have a little
おしゃべ
chat
りし
in
て
your room. She could have erased me, but instead tried to protect me.
それで
And
ま
then,
た明日ね
I'll wave you
手を
goodbye
振って
and
別
say,
れて
I'll see you tomorrow. She'd given me memories.
そんなのでいいな
If
ら
that's all you need,
私いくら
I
でも
can
してあ
give
げる
it
よ
to you. I've only been alive a year and a half, but I can remember every instant I spent with Remy.
そういうの
I always
結構
want to do
憧れなんだ
something like that. The small little gestures she made, the scent of her hair, the sound of her breathing, the sparkle in her eyes, the cheer in her voice, her gentle warmth. Oh, now I understand. I'm in love with Remy. Disgusting. I chuckled at just how disgusting I was. A guy who didn't even exist, falling in love with somebody. Could a delusion even fall in love? Or was I maybe just imagining things? I couldn't tell. I wanted to be honest about these feelings. Unimi saw me as a friend, not as a potential boyfriend. And a creepy loser like me wasn't anywhere near worthy of her. But even if it was just one way, even if it was just for my own self-satisfaction, even if I was just a delusion, I wanted to do something to help someone. To help Mimi before I disappeared. When a creepy otaku falls in love, it's creepy. When an illusion falls in love, it's creepy. But so what? Even if it's creepy, even if it's never going to happen, I didn't want these feelings to be a delusion or my imagination. Our memories of the past month were a shared awareness between me and Mimi. Even if everything else was a lie, these memories and the feelings they created were real.
世界を救ってほし
I
い。
want you to save the world. Shogun spoke. I shook my head.
僕は勇者じゃない。
I'm not a hero.
人間でも
I'm
な
not
い。
even human.
そんな僕に
And you want me to
世界を
save the
救えと
world?
か。
What are
何を
you
考えてる
thinking?
の？
君には本当に
I
悪いと
really
思
am
ってるけ
sorry,
ど、
but
君
you're
に
the
やって
only
もら
one
うし
who
かないん
can.
だ。
自分に謝る
You
な
sound
んて
like an
バカみ
idiot
たいだ。
apologizing to yourself. I glared at the real me. The real me stared back at the fake me.
僕は君が嫌
I
いだ。
hate you.
僕は
I'm jealous
君が
of
羨
you.
ましいよ。
僕は世
I'm
界の
not
ため
going to
に
do
な
a
んか
thing
頑
to
張らな
save
い
the。world.
世界を救う
I
と
don't
か、
care what
そんなこと
happens
どうで
to
も
me.
いい。
I decide for myself the reason I was born.
ただ、
But
僕は
I will
リミ
save
を
Rimi.
助ける。
ありがとう。
Thank you. The sounds around me returned. The confusion around me had only increased. At this point, it was a riot. I was surrounded by the smell of blood, by screaming, by pained moans, the noise of some kind of machine, like a microphone feeding back onto itself. It was everywhere.
ディソードを手に入れる
Tell
方
me
法
how
を
to
教
get a
えて。
D-sword.
君はすでにそれを知ってい
You
るはずだ
already
よ。
know. I looked up. I tried to find the D-sword, blended in with the scenery. Flying rocks, tear gas smoke, people colliding all around me. I shut out all of it and searched for the sword I'd seen just an instant on the roof of Front. I should be able to see it. It should be there. Part of the scenery, blended in. Find it. The D-sword is always by your side.
見つけた。
Found it. The building just to the right of the 107. There was a colorful vertical sign plastered to its side. It looked to me like the shape of a sword. I gulped nervously. I'd been able to see its shape on top of the O-front building too. But I had been able to grab it.
自分の意志を強く持つ
Clear
ん
your
だ。
mind.
迷っ
Keep
ち
it
ゃダメ
steady
だ
and
からね。
focused.
君にはも
You've more
う
than
剣を
earned
手
the
に入れ
right
る
to
資格は
own the,
十分にある。
own the sword. I reached out from where I stood. If I was going to save the person I loved, I needed this sword. I needed it. I bit down on my lower teeth. This wasn't like last time. I was surprised at how calm my heart was. There was no fear. I couldn't let myself be afraid. But I wasn't calm either. There was an emotion and burning and boiling up inside me. There was something I had to do. No matter what.
掴むんだ。
Grab it. It was about 100 meters from the 107. I moved my hand so that it seemed to overlap with the blade, and clenched. My hand was reaching out into an empty open space, when I felt something. It wasn't cold, or hot, or hard, or soft. I slowly pulled it toward me, holding it tight in my hand. Ripples appeared in the air, and out of the ripples it came. Far too long to be called a sword. So delicate, felt like it could snap at any moment. Filled with an unearthly elegance, but not a trace of ornamentation. Pure malice that threatened to drain away your soul. Beautiful curves that inspired awe and fear. The flames decorating itself flickered in time with the beating of my racing heart. It didn't feel heavy at all. In fact, I felt like it had become one with my hand, like I had always been there, a part of my body. I didn't feel like I was really holding the sword at all. So this was a D-sword. I held it tight with both hands. Right now, I could real boot it too. If I could make the people around me aware of it too, this sort would become real. I didn't know how, so I just focused. Become real, I shouted in my mind. There was no more hesitation. The D-sword began to glow, as if in answer to my call. The decorative flames on the hilt became real, engulfing the blade in fire. I didn't feel any heat. The flames were soon absorbed by the whole blade. And with a violent shockwave, the D-sword glowed red. Some of the people around me saw the weapon and were watching in shock. But only a few. The others were still fighting and cursing one another. The riot showed no signs of stopping. Look for the porters who were causing the riot. We can destroy the devices they hold. The crowd's fire rhythms will return to normal. Porters. Terminals of NoAH 2. You've already seen the hints you need. The memories exist within your mind. I awakened to the thing I'd seen. Flying across the promised seas now. And finally got a lead, so I had to make sure it doesn't go to waste. It's painful, isn't it? Think LLC. You heard of the? Give it back. Give back my bangle. Point L280. 62 Mega G, a new high score. What kind of magic trick is this? Nozomi. We call them porters. You might call them our mind control squad. The things I'd seen unconsciously. The things I'd unconsciously read with my mind. So, I'm the one who's been spying on people's minds. I guess that's appropriate. Oh. I let out a small, self-depreciating chuckle as Shogun Kamen gave me her next instructions. Unlock the channels. Read the porter's minds, like Kozuki does. There's somewhere here in Scramble Crossing. Find them. Unlock the channels. I didn't even have to think about how I do it. I'd already done it before I could even think about it. And when I did, the minds of all these people, their negative emotions, all became visible to me. It all came flooding in at once. Malice, hatred, jealousy, lust, subservience, cowardice, frivolity, filth, cunning, indecency, ugliness, vulgarity, greed, madness, murder. The hidden ugliness of all these people was revealed to me in way more direct, more cruel, more terrible than words. All the negative emotions mankind could possess came at me in a torrent of images, enveloping my mind, shattering and violating it. They looked at me with disgust, hurt me with their words, spat on me. My nails were torn off. I was punched again and again in the face, kicked from behind. My hair was ripped out. My nose was bitten off. My eyeballs were pulled from their sockets. My tongue was yanked from my mouth. My blood was drained. I was burned by hot water. My anus was raped. My genitals were smashed. My skin was torn off. My arms were cut off. All my bones broken. I was struck with blunt weapons. Stabbed with sharp ones. My organs were torn out. I was strangled. Eaten by huge beasts. Pushed off high places. drowned in the water, burned in the flames. If I synchronized with them all, my mind would shatter. I felt like I was going crazy. I bit my teeth and tried as hard as I could to focus. Had Kusupi lived her whole life like this? Control the delusions so that you see what you need to see. Don't try to take them all in. Narrow your target. Rely on the sound. Sound. I listened as hard as I could, struggling to fight off the waves of delusions. All I could hear were voices. I shut them out and searched for the sound. I heard it, a mechanical sound. The sound Sayadaton had said would kill me. I'd heard it in the memories of others too. Sena who used her D-sword to destroy the quarter backpack that had been emitting the sound. I focused on it. I could hear a very specific delusion. May the divine light save us. May the divine light save us. There were multiple voices. There was more than just one porter here, it seemed. 3 of them. I held my breath and took a step forward. The crowd was chaotic. Everyone at Scramble Crossing was moving around, fighting, without the slightest regard for any other human being. It was hard to walk straight. I hacked into the delusions of the people in the direction I was going. The people in front of me began to part. They made a path before me. 50 meters away, I saw a single man. There was nothing standing between us now. Our eyes met. He was pudgy, wearing a suit and carrying a backpack. Number 1. I ran through the crowd, without running into anyone. Straight ahead, via the fastest possible route, trailing the D-sword behind me. Ow! When the porter saw me, he turned tail and tried to run, but I wouldn't let him. Just like Sena had done, I swung the huge D-sword, even taller than I was, in a horizontal arc. It still seemed to weigh nothing. I could control it like it was a part of my body. Its tip sliced into the backpack. The backpack had its contents and its contents were vaporized, as if they'd been melted by something impossibly hot. The man dropped to his knees, holding his hands over his head to protect himself. I ignored him and headed for the second one. Directly beneath the front. Once again, the obstacles between us disappeared. The path formed. The man was standing there. He was real thin, wearing jeans and a checkered shirt. His hair was long and his skin was sickly pale. He was holding his back carefully, like he contained some dear treasure. He noticed me and immediately tried to hide it from the crowd, but before he could, I threw the D-sword. Fly. I envisioned the scene in my delusion. Ignored all laws of physics, flying parallel to the ground and accelerating as it went. It subtly altered its course as it flew and rammed right through the porter's backpack. There was a small burst of light, and the man toppled to the ground. One left. I ran over to the fallen man and recovered my D-sword. The third was in front of the Hachiko statue. I knew this one. I encountered them a few times before. Actually, in fact, I talked to her almost every day. The crowd parted. Once again, a path was formed. At the end of it, I saw a woman who looked very out of place. She was in a white nurse's outfit.
あなたが3人目です。
So you're the third porter.
葉月さん。
Hazuki.
いや、
No.
グリム。
Grim. Ah. God damn it. I had like a little bit of a feeling the last time we encountered Hazuki, but god... The nurse who'd smiled so kindly at me at the hospital. Now she was glaring at me, daggers in her eyes. There was a large handbag in her hands. It was probably a NoAH 2 terminal.
真実を暴くんだ。
Reveal the truth.
彼女がしてきたことを
If you show the
この
people
場にいる
here
人たちに提
what
示す
she's
れば
done,
この熱病のような混乱
the
は収まる。
chaos will end. What she's done.
彼女がグリムなら
If she's grim,
これまでの不自
then
然
you
な
should
言
have
動に
noticed some things
君は
that
気づいて
didn't
いる
make sense.
僕が最初に君に接触
Remember
し
the
た時
first time
の
we
ことを
spoke?
思い僕は君に
I told you
貼り
about the
付け事件の
crucified
予言
murder.
をした。
It was a warning to
君へ
you.
の継承だった。でも僕よりも先
But
に
before I did,
貼り付けを予言した人
someone
間が
else
い
had
る。
told you about it too.
あ
I remembered. I remember the chat log from that night. Just before Shogun had spoken to me, Grim had left the room, along with a joke image she'd drawn. Yep. It was the one that Hazuki had been drawing on the medical charts. It was a very poorly drawn picture, but what it showed was the crucified murder. And then there was what Grim had said about the new gen murders too. It's all happening right near your house, lol. I never told him I lived in Shibuya. And even just a few hours ago, Grim had said something that showed he knew I was Takumi Nichijo. You're famous. They'll all be excited to see you. And then the second time I'd gone to the hospital, Hazuki had said this.
高階先生は
Dr.
もう
Takashi...
いません。
Dr. Takashina is gone. A week later, Dr. Takashina was found dead. I gulped.
あの人が
So she's
真犯人
the real killer? I could find out if I looked. If I looked into her mind. How grim of Grim to be the murderer.
信仰の救いあれ。
May the divine light save us. Shino Hazuki was standing in the operating room of AH Tokyo General Hospital where she worked. It was late at night. On the bed was a young man, Chizuo Konoe. He'd been put into a state of semi-unconsciousness by a sleeping drug.
信仰の救
May
い
the
あれ。
divine light save us. She kept repeating the same phrase over and over, like a mantra, as she rubbed her heavily pregnant belly. She slipped off her white uniform, sat down on the table, and picked up a knife. Save us. And then, with no anesthetic, she cut open her stomach. There was a deftness in her touch that would have made any gynecologist or surgeon envious. Despite having no training as a surgeon, and despite the pain that would come from slicing open her own stomach, she cut it clean, even lines. Blood and amniotic fluid poured from the open wound. Her face twisted in pain, and when she was done cutting, she reached a hand into her own stomach and pulled out a blood-covered fetus. The fetus wasn't fully developed, and the shock of being gripped from the wound had already ended its life. Hazuki cut the umbilical cord and gave the child a loving hug before placing it on the stand next to the operating table and sewing up her wounds. The whole operation took less than an hour, and the whole time, she was exposed to an incredible pain in her abdomen, the kind of pain that would have long since knocked a normal person out. She stood up from the operating table and brought the baby over to the man on the bed. She looked down on the unconscious man with bloodshot eyes, before stabbing the knife hard into his belly. There was none of the grace and exactness she'd shown when cutting her own stomach. The man woke up from the pain, but his limbs had been tied down tightly to the bed, and there was no way for him to escape. She yanked the knife across his stomach, oblivious to his screams. It tore through flesh and skin. Blood spurted out, splashing on her face. May the divine light save you. She put her hands into the open wound, and then she yanked it open as hard as she could. The sound of ripping meat filled the operating room. The man's body began to twitch, and the pain made him slip in and out of consciousness. When she saw the wound was big enough, Hazuki smiled gently. Then, she took her own baby, and jammed it into the wound. This is
あなたの記憶
your memory,
なんで
isn't
す
it?
ね。
Shino Hazuki was watching the video in shock. There were 4 big TVs in Scramble Crossing, and all of them were showing her memories. She couldn't understand how it happened. It had to be Takumi Nichijo's egomaniac powers.
あなたの
these
記
are your
憶です
memories. Takami Nishijo spoke with his head down and D-sword in hand. The riot had calmed itself instantly. Now there was only silence. The thousands of people who had been fighting were now all staring up at the screen. Some turned pale and looked away. Some threw up on the spot. The media were trying to turn their cameras on Hazuki. She was blinded by one camera flash after
あ
another.
なたが
You were the one behind the new check killings, weren't you?
私の記憶を
You projected my
映像
memories
に
onto
投
the
影し
video
たんです
feed,
ね。
didn't you?
もう言い
You won't
逃
be
れは
able
で
to
きま
talk
せ
your
ん
way
よ
out of this.
胎児とあなたの
All they'll need
DNA
to
を
do
鑑
is
定
test
す
your
れば
DNA
わかる
against
こ
the
とです
babies.
どうしてあんなことを
Why did you do it?
ねえ
Tell me,
ク
Grim.
リム
ナイトハルト
Nightheart.
すべては
I
教
was
祖
only
様のお
following
言
the
葉なん
leader's
ですよ。
instructions. Hazuki put her hand into the handbag on her shoulder. It contained the NoAH terminal port and a surgical knife. She grabbed the knife and put it up against her neck. As a nurse, she knew exactly where the cardioid artery was. Hazuki smiled at Takami Nishijo, and her kind smile, the one she always showed her patients. May the divine light save us! Was quickly stained red by blood spurting from her neck. His is psychic.
救世主
His...
だ
her savior. Someone whispered. Only after I could feel many gazes upon me did I realize she was talking about me. Shino Hazuki had committed suicide by cutting her own throat in front of a huge crowd of people. Maybe it would be more accurate to say she murdered herself. I could still smell the disgusting scent of her blood. The riot had completely calmed now. Shino Hazuki's memories, displayed on the huge screens, were the perfect way to calm the people's excitement. Everyone had fallen dead silent with the shocking footage. Blood was still pouring from her corpse. Several people walked over to her. They started to kick her dead body. It was the corpse of a murderer. Did that mean there was no need to show it any respect? Were they going to chop off her head and display it somewhere, like they did back when there were still samurai around? How much of a difference was there between her and the people kicking her body? Humans were such ugly creatures, including me. The media crowded around their big scoops like packs of hyenas. Half went to Hazuki's body, the other half to me. Nishijo, that was astonishing.
今のは超能力です
Were
か
those your psychic
や
powers?
スパーだったんです
You
ね
really are
すごいです
psychic. Wow.
今日のこの集まりは
So was today's gathering planned from the start to lure out the real killer?
あなたの超能力
At
は
what age did you
何歳
awaken
頃
to your
に現れたも
psychic
のなんです
powers?
か
子供の頃のあだ名
What
は
was your nickname when you were little? Did anyone ever call you a child prodigy?
今後
Prodigy,
警察
rather.
の捜査に協力する予定
Are you
は
going to be helping the police with their investigations?
うちの局の番組に出て
Would you like to
くれ
be
ない
on
か
our TV show? Words of praise, one after another.
な西条
Nishijo! Great job! Yeah, Takami, over here.
お前すげえよ
You're amazing. I love you. Please be my boyfriend. Friendly words, one after another. I felt the emptiness in all of them. What was the difference between a delusion and a fake image created by the media? There probably wasn't much of one, if there was one at all. Takumi. 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 Okay. It was just like last time. The heat I felt when they were looking up at me from the bottom of the front building. Shut up! I screamed. I couldn't take it anymore.
手のひら返してよ
So now you all changed your minds and you're treating me like a hero? This is stupid. I started to cry. I felt so sad. I felt so stupid. I just had to cry. I was no hero.
僕は希望
I'm
の
gonna
ね
talk a loser. The pervert who spends all day jerking off to his naughty Satans on figurine.
18歳
I'm not
に
even
なったけどエロゲ
18.
しても
And I still play
えって
H games all
言ってのアホな
day. In my head, I'm stripping every girl I see on the street naked and imagining doing all kinds of perverted things to her. That's who I am. My face was covered with tears and snot. I'd forgotten that all of Japan was watching me on live TV. I hadn't thought about how I was embarrassing myself again. I was a loser with no social skills, no ability to read the room. Well, am I still a hero? No. I'm no hero. I'm just a delusion. A creep. A failure who can't do anything on my own. And the voices around me fell silent. The crowd stopped cheering. The media were looking at me, confused and suspicious. Here in the middle of Shibuya, in the heart of Scramble Crossing, my voice was the only sound. That's who I am. You don't get to decide who I am for me. I'll decide who I am. I'm not your toy. I'm not here for your entertainment. Conversely, I am here for your entertainment, guys. Don't worry about it. I've got something I have to do. I'm not here to do what you want. Suddenly, I saw an image of Rimi's face. I want to fight for the person I care about, and then disappear. Before I could say that, suddenly, I saw something in the night sky. It was turning white. It wasn't a cloud. It wasn't an out-of-season snowfall. It was the same phenomenon that had occurred during the last earthquake. But by the time I'd realized that, it was too late. The third melt? It wasn't supposed to happen this soon. First, there was the rumbling. The ground shook. The white in the sky spread further and further. Next, a terrible ringing in my ears. The high-pitched sound of something resonating that threatened to split open my head. Everyone around me was holding their ears as well. And then... the whole world turned white. There we go. It was like waiting. I knew we were coming to the end of the chapter soon, and there it is. I'm fine with that. That's actually a good chapter end, not gonna lie. But yeah, we're getting our first real ending next week. Isn't that exciting? Are you guys eager? I'm a little eager, but I'm also a little scared. Yeah. I do like how a lot of things are starting to get, like, tied and wrapped up. I am pretty content with the way the story's going. I will say that. Things are slowly but surely starting to make some sense in this world. It just took 84 years. Okay, maybe not that bad, but... Man, I feel dumb for not thinking of connecting the dots about Grim being, the nurse. Cause, like, I don't know, it's just one of those, like, oh, that's so obvious. At least at a point anyways. Like, with the drawings. I should have connected those dots sooner, but, you know, whatever. But yeah, that's kind of it. I'll catch you all next time. Alright, bye-bye!